Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Water and Power Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, August 11th. This proceeding broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. General Counsel?
Good morning. In accordance with Governor Newsom's March 17th, 2020 order, this meeting is being conducted by teleconference. In the boardroom are Commission President Cynthia McLean-Hill, Commission Vice President Susanna Reyes, and General Manager Marty Adams, along with certain limited staff. In accordance with the Governor's order, we will do public comment by telephone and video conference. People wishing to call in may call 213-306-3065. Again, that's 213-306-3065. When prompted, please enter meeting code 146-554-8194. Again, that's 146-554-8194. Please identify whether you're speaking on public comment or specific items. You will have 2 minutes per item and 5 minutes total. And please turn down your computer if you're watching the proceedings on the computer, because we will get feedback. Commissioners, when the board secretary takes roll, if you would please identify any items you would like pulled for discussion. Madam Secretary.
Commissioners, please say present. Roll call. Commissioner Barad?
Present.
Commissioner Levine?
Present.
President McLean-Hill?
Present.
Commissioner Neiman Brady?
Present.
Vice President Reyes?
Present.
5 members present and a quorum. The opening of the board meeting by President McLean-Hill.
Thank you, Susie. I had planned no opening remarks at the top of this meeting. However, I do want to amend that plan momentarily to note the bulletin issued by the General Manager this morning. I am always proud to be part of this board and part of this department. I have been, over the course of the last couple of years, exceedingly impressed by the level of professionalism, the integrity, and the graciousness of the people that come to work here every day. I was among those who found themselves elated at the appointment of Marty Adams as General Manager of this department and Chief Engineer. I would commend to all today to review the message bulletin that he has issued, reflecting on his time here at DWP, and more specifically addressing the department's undertaking of the mayor's initiative on racial equity. Marty, you have demonstrated an immense ability to keep an organization together during very, very difficult times, as has been noted from the beginning by our previous president and board member Levine, and you continue to do that. I know that the current racial awakening, as it's sometimes called, is unanticipated work, almost as unanticipated as the pandemic. It is difficult work, it's important work, and it requires both a measure of transparency, honesty, and humility, both of which you possess in spades. And I just want to thank you for this bulletin and for the very inspiring and moving candor and commitment that it conveys. So I look forward to the agenda item, and with that, we will move to public comments.
Thank you. We will now commence with the public comment session. We currently have 5 comments in the queue. Callers, I will begin by announcing your caller number, then area code and prefix, and your name where we have it. As I unmute you, please state your full name and the item number you're calling in to discuss. Please be mindful that you will have 2 minutes for public comment. Starting with caller ID number 5, John Monson, area code 818, prefix 427, on the topic of the Cadiz water mining project. You are now unmuted and with time to speak.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, we hope you and your families are doing well. My name is indeed John Munson, and I'm representing the National Parks Conservation Association. Commissioner Levine said of the Cadiz project almost exactly 3 years ago, we feel that the risks to the desert don't justify whatever profits or potential jobs might be gained from taking water out of this important desert aquifer. We couldn't agree more, and we want to thank LADWP for their efforts to protect the desert from Cadiz. Today I wanted to briefly comment why Cadiz is failing and it won't be a part of anyone's water future. The last several years have been horrible for Cadiz, with its rejection by the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. Published, peer-reviewed science showing that the project will indeed drain desert aquifers. A state's finding that its EIR is inadequate to protect desert species. And the passage of SB 307 in July 2009. To get permission to operate, Cadiz has to convince the lead agency, the California State Lands Commission, that its project will not harm desert or cultural resources. It can't do that with the mounting evidence against it. In its most recent debacle, Cadiz is paying the Three Valleys Municipal Water District $805,000 to have a consultant who is a longtime Cadiz advocate conduct yet another study of the environmental impacts of the project. Cadiz and Three Valleys hope to influence the State Lands Commission with what is clearly an overtly biased study. It won't work. The Commission is aware of what is going on, and the Cadiz Three Valleys study will be dead on arrival when it is completed in 2001. We appreciate that LADWP recognizes that it has many more environmentally friendly means to achieve a sustainable water supply than the unsustainable Cadiz water mining project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Moving on to caller number ID 6, Neil Desai at area code 510, prefix 368, who would like to speak to the topic of Eagle Crest bailout legislation. Mr. Desai, you are now free to speak.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Neil Desai. I'm the Senior Pacific Region Director for the National Parks Conservation Association. I do hope you and your families and everyone participating here on this call are managing and staying healthy. I'm here to give public comment on the topic of the Eagle Crest pump storage project being proposed next to Joshua Tree National Park, and the latest version of state legislation to force procurement of the project. I first want to thank DWP for its efforts on this issue through your participation with SCAPA. We've been working with SCAPA for the past 3 years to oppose this legislation. They've been an incredible partner. We're a part of a large coalition that includes publicly owned utilities, agriculture, environmental, tribal, clean energy interests. And for those of you not familiar, Eagle Crest is a proposed hydroelectric pump storage project in the middle of the desert, one of the driest places in North America. There's no surface water, so it would have to overdraft groundwater aquifer underneath Joshua Tree National Park. And if it sounds like the prior issue of Cadiz that was mentioned, it's because it is. It's another one of these zombie projects proposed more than 2 decades ago when the desert wasn't valued like it is today. So in addition to the problems on the environmental side, the project hasn't penciled out economically because it costs over $3.5 billion, and neither the open marketplace nor state regulators have found the project to be needed. So they're back again at the legislature, the 5th time in 3 years, the 3rd time this year alone, trying to force legislation that would procure the project that would be financed by your ratepayers. I have ratepayers all across the country, and that's why SCAPA has been involved, and we've been partnering with them. Last week, the Public Utilities Commission unanimously voted to oppose the project, the legislation. And so I just want to thank DWP for its efforts through SCAPA. You know, these are important issues that implicate a range of issues from ratepayers to environmental work to responsible water and energy development. And we've just been very supportive of and thankful for the DWP and its leadership on these many issues. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We are moving on to caller number 9. We do not have a name. Area code 530, prefix of 919. You are now unmuted and you can speak to the topic. Again, please announce your name and the topic number you would like to speak to. I would again like to invite area code 503, prefix of 919, caller number 9. You are available and unmuted to speak at this time if you have public comment. Okay, we have one last potential comment. We believe this may be an internal call. Caller ID number 7, area code 213, prefix of 367. Are you wanting to comment or are you needing to go to the listen only line? Caller ID number 7, area code 213, prefix of 367. Do you have a comment? It appears as though we have no more public comment at this time.
Thank you. All public comment is now closed.
Okay, thank you. We'll move now to item number 3, briefing by General Manager.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your comments earlier. Appreciate that.
Almost cried.
I'll reserve my comments. We have a smattering of news this morning to report to the board. The first 2 items are very unfortunate. The first is I wanted to note that the board, we lost a former general manager and someone who was a real titan in the city, and that was Ron Deaton. Ron Deaton passed away last Tuesday. He'd been sick for a number of years. As you know, Ron was incredibly influential in the city of LA. His career spanned about 40 years. He began his job in this work in the city of LA with the Department of Water and Power in our sales department for new business, and then transferred to the Chief Legislative Analyst's office. And ultimately, he headed up that office as the city's Chief Legislative Analyst from 1993 to 2004. So that's 11 years in a very influential role in the city and a very important time. Ron embodied every aspect of a true public servant at DWP. Here's some photos of him coming by. We just different shots of him during the course of his career. He was considered to be the 16th council member in so many ways. It was a time, actually, I think it was before term limits. And when I first met Ron, he was working as a CLA, and John Ferraro was in office. And I quickly learned in my role in the water system, which is quite a few steps back then, that between the two of them, there was nothing they couldn't accomplish together. Ron had a brilliant intellect. He was a master problem solver. He would find solutions to the most complex challenges of policy and administration. And he never hesitated to lead the way, but he also had a great way about him. He had a great tact and a sense of humor. And a lot of times, unless you really got to know him, you didn't really see that side of him. He was people who worked close with Ron. We learned a lot from him. He was one of the best that's been in public service in this city. He made the city stronger, and he really left a mark on the utility and the city of LA. He ended his career here at the Department of Water and Power when he was general manager. We're proud to have and honored to have been able to call him our leader and our mentor and our friend. Our condolences go out to his wife Ellery and the rest of his family. Ron was general manager here for, I think it was about 3 years. I remember when he first came over, I don't think he knew too many people in the building still, because I would look up, I would be in Selmo's office, actually, down in water operations, and I'd look up and find him standing in my doorway coming to visit. He wouldn't say anything, he'd just stand there. And at the time, I'd never really hung out with any general managers. That was kind of a no-no back then. But his friendship and working together was great, and he walked around the building a lot, talked to a lot of people, got to know a lot of folks. He suffered a tragic health event when he was out of the country, and that caused his retirement. We miss Ron. Here's a picture of him later in his life. I'm trying to think, so when Marcy was general manager, it looks like at that point. So Ron was a great advocate for the city of Los Angeles, and as much time as he spent at City Hall, he always loved this department. So we will miss Ron and want to make sure that the board is aware and the public is aware of the contribution that he made and the importance. The next bit of bad news I had to report is the passing of AJ Coburn. AJ is Akeem Jamal Coburn, who went by AJ. He passed away the day after the last board meeting. We don't often bring issues of employee deaths to the board, but this was a notable situation. AJ joined us in just about a year ago as a construction and electrical helper. He was a member of the Power Transmission and Distribution Division. He worked out of the Palms District Office in West LA. And he made great relationships there, and he was really known for his impressive work ethic and was a respected member of his crew. He was completely dedicated to the department. He was working on improving his skills, and he had great aspirations. He finished his time, or was finishing his time, and ready as a helper and ready to take the civil service exam and become a full-time employee. His coworkers described him as determined, ambitious, and caring. He was also referred to as a thoughtful, gentle giant. He was a devoted father of 3 girls, and he was engaged to a fiance who also was a city employee in another office at City Hall, and they were planning their future together. Unfortunately, AJ was killed on the way home from work, on the way to pick up his daughters. It's a very tragic event. We are working with LAPD to try to make sure that there's justice done on his behalf, and there's a lot of department employees that are affected very strongly by this because they cared so much for this man and the future that he had here for the department. So it's a very unfortunate event, but I wanted the board to be aware of that and to know that this is the second time we've had a person who was killed on the way home from work. The last time, I remember maybe a year and a half ago, was a gentleman out of Temple Street Yard. And so, and that man was killed by a homeless person who was on drugs. So, we care very deeply for our department family, and certainly at times like this, they're tragic, and a tragic passing of someone that's part of the team here. And so we're doing what we can to reach out and support the family and to support law enforcement, trying to find some level of justice here. So I wanted the board to be aware of that.
Thank you, Marty.
I wanted to report to the board that call wait times, as I think we've talked before about COVID, call wait times have been longer than pre-COVID because we've had less people be able to be in the office and at a time because of employee density and also because of other issues with people who are off because of particularly age-related or health risk-related issues. And so we have rolled out a number of laptops that are able to take calls remotely. And so we've been increasing that number so that we can control our call wait times. There are certain days of every month that we particularly get high call volumes, and so we do see days, higher days and lower days. We are in the process of rolling out a new computer program which will allow us to take all of our calls remotely. And so while we still have quite a few members of the call team, so the customer service reps are here at the department, and everyone is here at some point, but we're increasing the ability for folks to work from home and to be part of the regular system. Employees have been doing, when they're at home. Some are taking calls, some are doing training, some are learning more about the business and the different programs and things. In the customer service realm, there's quite a bit of information to learn and to stay abreast of. So we've been taking advantage of that, but we are on the cusp of being able to have everyone fully functional at home at all time, which should be a big step for us, and that'll hopefully bring our call wait times down. It's pretty typical, I think, right now. Anywhere you call, wait times are up because of call centers are impacted, and typically in call centers, people sit very close together, and so we've also taken a number of steps in our call center here at the building, as well as the one in Chatsworth, to make sure that there's not only employee spacing but also safety between the desks with plexiglass structures and other things like that. So, but that is something that we are working to improve and get back on track with our excellent call times that we had before COVID hit. The next slide, we'll talk about a couple of workers that I'd like to honor for their. Here we go, Rick's got it. A couple of our workers. We have a lot of folks that really go above and beyond the job, that step up when something happens and people are needed. We've stopped crimes. We've rescued people, a variety of things. We have 2 employees who, due to the quick thinking, were able to stop an emergency from getting worse. On the way to one of our power plants last Friday, utility pre-craft helper trainees, that's UPCT, Sergio Morales, and maintenance laborer Javier Hernandez noticed a car was pulled to the side of the road and was emitting smoke and was starting to catch on fire. And so they pulled over, and instead of driving past, they pulled over and got out their fire extinguishers and assisted in putting out the fire. They kept that from becoming a much bigger situation, and then they remained with the driver until the fire department was on the scene and made sure that everything was safe. So I want to thank Sergio and Javier for their work and recognize that besides being good employees, they're also being good members of the community and representing the department well. So thank you very much. On workforce updates, to let the board know, this is our second week back to normal, whatever normal is supposed to mean. So normal at this point means that all of our field forces are at 100% strength. We are functioning in the field doing all of our work. And at the same time, we have telecommuters who are responding 1 to 2 days a week to the building or wherever they telecommute, could be to another building. And with that, everyone has a touch point at work on a weekly basis, or more often. Second level supervisors and all management level employees are here full time and wherever their work is. And so this gives us a chance to make sure that all of our work stays on track and we're continuing to function as well as we can. I think we are exceeding what any of the department is doing at this point in terms of work employee reporting, and very happy with the way it's going, and things are going well. As far as COVID numbers, we are seeing very slight increases comparable to what's around us, maybe slower than what's around us. And again, the workplace continues to be safe, and we always say safer at work. So that's our motto. So lastly, wanted to note that August is Water Quality Awareness Month, and there is our drinking water quality report is online at www.ladwp.com/waterquality, and we are working with our communications and public affairs on collaborating to promote on our different social networks about LA's water quality investments, and to make sure that folks know about access to our water quality hotline. So water quality is very important to us. I spoke to a couple folks yesterday with some community-based organizations about things that they do to get the word out about water quality, especially in communities where the folks come from from other countries where drinking water is not safe, and how important it is to get the message out that water in LA is perfectly safe to drink. Folks who are concerned about their community investing a lot of money in water that they don't need to from water vendors, and so we're very excited about the Water Quality Month, and we're always very proud of the quality of the water that we serve here in LA. Lastly, with your permission,
we're going to move item 9B1.
Yes, I'd like to turn it over to Rich Harisick and have him move to item 9B, which is the recognition of our water recycling customer of the year. So, Rich, go right ahead.
Yes, good morning, commissioners, and I would like to, and I'm happy to recognize our 2020
Recycled Water Customer of the Year. Now, you could go online and Google to see who it is, but I will tell you it is actually Google Spruce Goose. And Google has converted the historic Los Angeles airplane hangar into an office facility in Playa Vista. And it is known as the Google Spruce Goose. And they began using recycled water in June of 2018. And Google's facility will now use 100% recycled water for their cooling towers in addition to those existing uses they have for irrigation. So we thank them for overcoming what can really be a complex operational change, but they have done it and they have converted to recycled water. And we appreciate their efforts and their commitment to support our efforts into conserving our precious potable water supplies by converting to recycled water. I also want to acknowledge the two primary DWP coordinator staff that work with Google, as Marvin Schober of our Water Recycling Planning Group and Tracy Din of our Water Resources Division. We're also honored to have Richard Navarro from Google's sustainability team online with us here to accept the 2020 Recycled Water Customer of the Year award. So I'd like the board to welcome on the line Richard and join me in congratulating him and Google's efforts on the award. So I think we're going to bring Mr. Navarro on the line. He actually has the award, and I would like him to show it as well.
Actually, our team has it over at the site, so I don't have it with me, but I was hoping to get a selfie from the team to send it on over to me to have it posted, but they didn't get it in time, but no worries at all. But thank you, Honorable Board of LADWP and General Manager. My name is Richard Navarro, and I'll be accepting the award on behalf of the Google Playa Vista team. As noted, I am the Sustainability Program Manager for our Real Estate and Workplace Services Department. But first off, I want to say special thanks to Dan, Israel, David, Heath, and the Facilities and Projects team, as well as Marvin and Tracy for their incredible work in helping us get to this point. I really appreciate it. And without the commitment to sustainability and innovation, none of this would have been possible. The work really here does shine on our collective commitment to water stewardship here at Google. The effort required partnership, training, engagement, and planning to make happen. We really appreciate each and every stakeholder's contribution to ensure that it was not only installed correctly, but performed to the expectation and design as it did in operations. For that, we have to thank our project teams in partnership with Arup, and most importantly, Dan and Israel again, who made this an operational miracle to really make happen. And of course, the continued effort with LADWP, the technology with Capture H2O, and the respective team making it happen. And it was really huge, as you all had noted. Like, we've saved 2 million gallons plus per year of kind of we use recycled water instead of potable water, and that was amazing, especially considering that we were able to kind of push the amount of cycling with respect to the cooling tower recycling technology to over 16 times per cycle, which is a really, really amazing, huge accomplishment. All of this work was an incredible team effort and did not come easy, and the award really is reflective of the amazing work that's happening day in and day out at our Spruce office. We hope the use of recycled water for cooling tower water use that we pioneered stands as an example that others can replicate. So bravo to the team, and thank you again to the Board of LADWP and the General Manager for this incredible honor. We at Google are truly humbled. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I'll turn it back to you, Marty.
Okay, thanks, Rich, and congratulations to Google. That's a great job. We appreciate the efforts you're making and the investments that you've made. So with that, that's the conclusion of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. I'd also like to add my congratulations on behalf of the board to Google, and also to acknowledge the both compassion and quick thinking and bravery of our department employees who pulled over when they could have kept driving to assist the motorists. So thank you for that report, Marty. Next on the agenda is comments from commissioners on agendized items or other requests.
I have a question rather than a comment. Cynthia, that bulletin that you described sounded remarkable. I haven't seen it, and I don't know why it didn't hit my email, so I would request having it
Yes,
I assume it was sent around, but anyway, I'd like to see it.
Yeah, it just went out just before the board meeting, so you'll be getting it very shortly if it's not on its way already. So it just went out
Okay.
just before the board meeting.
Okay, it sounded like something I didn't want to miss.
It is quite something.
So I didn't have a comment, just a question. Thank you for the answer.
Commissioner Levine will be sending that to you right now, to all of the commissioners.
Wonderful, thank you.
Any other commissioner comment?
None at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Reyes?
So, Marty, you mentioned in a number of your reports about the telecommuting, and I think I did ask for a report back to the board on that, on our telecommuting statement and policy and procedures in light of the continuing pandemic and our ability to allow employees to work from home for all or part of their work week. So we would just like to see if we've sort of like piloted telecommuting, right? But we don't have a policy and procedure yet, but if there is, could you please share with the board, probably at the next board meeting, if that is okay?
Yeah, I will do that. And there's a few things that are evolving in this area, so including just as we transition some of the rules of the road, so we're working out some, just trying to get to where we can have a new sustainable normal. So I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Terrific. If there are no additional comments, the item 5, comments from Ratepayer Advocate. Is there something that you'd like to address at this time, or comments that you'd like to make during the presentation of items?
I will have comments as issues arise. And I would like to say one clarifying thing on item 12. Item 12 talks about adjustments to the low income rate. And I want to clarify that that is an adjustment for those who qualify, but not an adjustment to the level of any adjustment.
Okay. Could you say just a little bit more about that? Do you mean that the adjustment goes to eligibility as opposed to actual adjustments to the rate itself, or there's some quizzical looks?
You're more concise than I am. It goes to eligibility. It doesn't talk about the size of any discount.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I heard adjustment to the adjustment and got confused.
Do we have any, item 6, is there anything from the Neighborhood Council?
Community impact Community impact statement from the following Neighborhood Council was received by Arroyo Seco Neighborhood Council. And those items that was placed in your binder.
Okay, thank you.
And no representatives of the council are here to speak or called.
I'm sorry, you said they are here to speak?
They are not.
There's no one here to speak on the item. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Moving to item 7. Do we have items that are being removed from the agenda? It looks like items 12, 13, 14, 16, and 17 are coming off of the consent agenda, which leaves us items 10, 11, and 15 that remain on the agenda. Is there a motion for those 3 items?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Terrific. It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
10, 11, and 15.
Hey, Cynthia, do you mind taking the practice of individually requesting the votes? Because that way you can ensure you've heard everybody correctly.
Okay, terrific. So you would like a roll call vote? Is that what you're asking for? It's just a matter of routine?
I just think with the items that are consensus, hearing the yes, you may not know it actually comes from me and everybody else, given the Zoom nature of this. So it just might be best to
Yeah, on items that we take off the consent calendar, we will have a roll call.
but even the consent agenda, I think should be roll calls done.
Only if it's not, if everybody doesn't vote for it, then it's not consent anymore. So if there's any objection coming from anybody, then it isn't, it doesn't pass.
But you may not know you're getting the affirmation of everybody.
Understood. Is there any objection, which is what I asked for? Any objection? Then without objection, the consent item agenda is approved. We'll move on to management reports.
So our first item is the second phase of the hiring and selection process discussion. Last board meeting, we had the personnel department representatives were online talking about the civil service process. So Shannon and Michael are here to talk about our internal process and numbers and shed some light. I'm sure there'll be questions about what we can do to affect things in the future and changes we can make, but I think it's important for the board to understand the logistics and what's currently allowed and provided in the systems that we have and the impacts on hiring and the timing it takes to hire and that sort of thing at the department. So I think it's important background information that then we can work from as we want to move toward the future.
Terrific. Shannon?
Okay, good morning. Shannon Pasquale, HR, and behind me is Michael D'Andrea. So we're gonna walk you through the presentation.
6 feet.
Sorry.
I think we got it.
Yeah, okay. And if you have any questions along the way, please let me know. So the presentation is going to be divided into a couple of sections. Like Marty said, I think the first couple of sections are going to be some background information specifically for the board. So you have information in terms of what our hiring has looked like for the last 4 years. We also want to kind of provide some information in terms of what our examining resources are coming directly from the personnel department, what our outreach and recruitment calendar looks like for this fiscal year. And then Michael's going to go into more detail about the actual hiring processes that we have in this department. And there's 2 that he's going to specifically focus on. He'll kind of gently and quickly talk about some of the improvements that have been made or are in the process of being made to kind of expedite how we get hiring done here. And then as you can see by the presentation at the end, we've kind of left 3 very open-ended topics that we thought that would be important for you to want to discuss with us. So that's how we will conclude the presentation. So I'm going to start by kind of going over the first slide number 2. So this slide in particular kind of goes into detail about the job advertisements and the hiring transactions that this department has basically engaged in and improved over the last 4 fiscal years. So if you look at fiscal year 2016-17, there's a series of numbers. The actual topics themselves will become more evident to those of you who are not aware when Michael goes into the actual discussion about the differences in our hiring processes. But in essence, our job advertisements are our bids, which are our internal union negotiated process, as are our transfer reassignments. The certifications are for those coming from civil service eligible lists, and then on occasion we will ask for city transfers for other city employees to come over and become part of the DWP family. So as you see, we've been kind of busy for the last 4 years, and these are the actual transactions. These are not actual employees. These are transactions. And as
So
I
just
go
a
ahead.
quick question. So just because I have to learn your lingo. So for bids, that is simply the posting or advertising of a position?
It's a posting and advertisement of a position specifically for employees who are in the department currently, who are in those bargaining units that have a bid process.
Okay, so that then is not subject to outside hire? That's only eligible for employees that are internal?
That is correct.
And then transfer and reassignment, how is that distinguished from bids?
Okay, so transfer reassignment is also internal, but it's for other bargaining units within the department that don't have a specific bid plan, and it's specific internally as well.
And which department units have bid plans?
So most of IBEW Local 18's units have bid plans. I think that SCIU has a bid plan. I think LDA has a bid plan. MEA has a transfer reassignment, and so we indicate them here. And I think ACE, I don't think ACE has, I think ACE has a transfer reassignment as well. So it's internal to our labor relations office.
And what is LDA?
Load Dispatchers Association.
I see. And ACE?
ACE is the Association of Confidential Employees, and they all work for Dietrich Fernandez in our labor relations office.
Okay.
And so a bid, just so how it works, so if a job is open, then under a bid plan, or even under transfer opportunity, we offer to other employees at that level who would like the opportunity to work in a different job. And so it could be they want to go to a different location, maybe they want to go to a different yard, they want to get a different experience, but they're basically transfer opportunities within the department. And so so when a position comes open, a lot of times there's a kind of a musical chairs that happens because people want to realign for whatever variety of reasons. And so that would be the bid process, and actually technically the transfer reassignment as well. And Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, but certifications could be new jobs or entry-level jobs, or when the bid process is finished and there's a job that no one's bid on, then to go to the list. Is that correct?
Correct. And the bids and the transfer reassignments can be for higher level positions within the job classification for which there is a vacancy that needs to be filled.
Okay, so then certifications are jobs that are open to non-DWP employees?
No, they are open to employees of the City of Los Angeles, which includes DWP, and people outside of the City of Los Angeles.
But
those are the
service list.
Yeah, the certifications are specifically the civil service exam lists.
No, I understand. So
Yeah.
the correction is that they are, in addition to is that they're open both to DWP and non-DWP employees?
Correct.
Okay.
And city transfers are specifically for employees who are currently employed with the City of LA.
Yeah, those would be like
Okay.
lateral class transfers and classes that we share.
Right.
So.
As I mentioned at the last board meeting, this department has specifically 342 job classifications, 120 of which are specific to DWP, and 222 are shared by the other city departments. Our job classifications are represented by 14 bargaining units within 5 labor organizations, and we actually have 3 non-represented units as well within the department.
Shannon, just to clarify, so when you say total number of transactions, that's not number of jobs, that's the number of postings that we put out. Is that
It's the number of postings and the number of HR documents that were approved. It doesn't reflect the number of employees. We could have a transaction for five employees, 50 employees. You know, it's not reflective of the actual employees. It's just the transactions that were approved to get employees hired.
So especially if you certify the list, say for a maintenance and construction helper, a typical entry-level position, water or power may ask for 30 or 40 positions at one time. So that'd be one transaction, right?
Correct.
We have an example.
I have a question. This is Jill Barad. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, Jill.
I don't see anything in any of the documents that applies to women being hired by DWP, and I'm wondering what percentage of the people who are being hired, particularly in the higher ranking jobs or the non-traditional jobs, what percentage are women, and what are we doing to attempt to bring in women to DWP?
Okay, so getting to your question about the non-traditional jobs. Currently, the percentage of women in this department that are in those positions, it's 2%. Women as a whole...
Can you speak closer to the microphone, because I can't hear you.
Okay. In our craft classes or our non-traditional employment job classifications, currently the percentage of females in those classes is 2%. The overall female representation in the department is 22%.
22?
22.
And as Shannon goes through the program, this is kind of to show you how the hiring process works, and then we'll be able to talk about some of those issues and kind of how we deal with those.
Right. We can go into more detail, Commissioner Barad, in terms of what efforts we're doing for recruitment efforts. And if you have any other questions, then we can kind of touch it. There is a slide that talks about our recruitment efforts, and we can go into a little bit more detail about what we're doing there. Okay, if there's no further...
Oh, I just have a quick question about certifications.
Sure.
So the certifications, does that represent the... Because this says advertisements and hiring transactions. So does that say 650 numbers, that the number of actual people who were certified, and does that represent or relate to the number of people that were subsequently hired, or is that just the number of people who were put on a list?
It's the number of certification requests that were made. It doesn't reflect the number of employees that were hired. It's just we submitted 650 certification requests to the personnel department.
Yeah. If I had to guess, 650 certifications probably end up in 2,000 or 3,000 interviews, probably, you think, something along those lines?
I mean, on average, I think each certification request is going to have at least 2 to 3 positions that we're filling. As Marty indicated, we do have a number of job classifications where we do go to certain, there's 30 to 50 people positions that we're trying to fill. So one certification request could basically yield us the appropriate number of candidates for us to fill 50 vacancies.
And Shannon, we review, so when we ask for certification, it's number of positions plus extra candidates. Can you, so the board understands how many candidates we get from the civil service list at any time?
Right, so I think the personnel department kind of touched upon it last time. It's the rule of 3 whole scores, or it's 5 plus the number of vacancies that you have in terms of the number of candidates that you need to consider. So if you have 10 vacancies, you're going to see at minimum 15 candidates. In most instances, it's a lot more than 15. Or you'll see those candidates in the top 3 whole scores that the department's going to fill. So you could have literally, let's say the MNC helper example that you gave, you could have 25 candidates in the first score band, and you could have 20 in the next score band and 30 in the next score band. So you might be having to fill 50 positions and you don't have enough candidates in those top 3 whole scores, so then you'll go to the next whole score so that you continue to have 5 plus the number of vacancies in terms of candidates to consider.
Yeah. One of the things the city's done on many of the exams is they've actually tried to ban the scoring so that so instead of having one person with a 97 and 2 with a 96 and 1 with a 91, is to try to group them in bands, which provides broader number of candidates for us to select from. But it also means that then when it gets to here, there's more folks to interview and process, which is good, but it is more work for the actual user who's hiring.
If I may, we have a slide coming up that gives an example of one certification for 30 electrical engineering associates. And because of what was just being explained, the power system ended up picking up 21 for those reasons. We'll go through it step by step.
So Shannon, one question, when you talk about job advertising the jobs, can you explain to the board what that means so that they understand
Sure.
how an employee will be able to see the job openings?
Absolutely. So with our bids in particular and our transfer reassignments, when a division is going to go fill a position, they will post an actual physical piece of paper indicating the position or positions that they are going to be filling. They post it on the HR website, and they send it directly to all candidates who would be eligible to be able to be considered for that position. And then they also get an email with the bid as well. And this way, everyone who is interested in changing jobs has an opportunity to go ahead and respond to the bid, provide their information to the hiring division, and then they'll be scheduled for an interview at some point to be considered once those interviews are scheduled. The certification notices through the civil service exam process, candidates are notified through an email. They get an email directly from the personnel department letting them know that the department, in this case, the Department of Water and Power, is going to be filling a position in X classification. Here's the contact information, and here's the time for which you need to report if you are interested in being considered for that position. And then with regards to our citywide transfers, the personnel department has a citywide transfer page on their website that city departments can provide information on jobs that they're trying to fill. And so city employees who are interested in maybe leaving their current job and going to another city department or coming to this department, if they see that we are hiring through a city transfer, there's contact information in terms of who they can contact, and then they will be considered also when the division is going to hire and fill the vacancy.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go on to the next slide. The next slide actually talks about the actual hiring stats, and these are the number of employees who actually have been hired over the last 4 years. And we kind of broke it down specifically to those that were hired within, which are our internal folks with the asterisks, and then those that were new to the department. And they could have come from another city department, or they could have come from the public. What's interesting about this stat for the last 4 years, and admittedly Marty was the one that picked up on this very quickly, 20% of our employees actually change their jobs every year. And so that means 20% of our workforce is either doing a lateral transfer from their current position to another position in the department. They're going for a higher level position, either through a bid process or a transfer reassignment, or they're going for a promotion through the civil service exam process and are reporting through the certification process. So on average, 20% of our employees are changing their jobs yearly.
Can I make a comment on that? So sure. This is interesting. When we were going through the data and we're looking at the number of internal transfers versus number of employees, it is an interesting point. And when we talk about how many steps we take to actually net a new person in the door, it's because the system's designed to provide existing employees opportunities, and both through negotiated bids and the transfer and just our own policies, is that we believe that employees who are here should have a chance to promote first, but before we bring people in from the outside, and so they compete on lists, but they because they're internal candidates, a lot of times the internal candidates are viewed first, and then as well as the fact that folks would like to be able to change jobs or do something that they, like I say, it could be location, it could be just different type of work and other things like that. And it also helps to make much more well-rounded employees. And so some employees work up within the existing system they're in, some change systems, for different opportunities. But it is interesting when you look at this, realizing it occurred to us that actually 20% of the employees are in transition on average every year.
Okay. Any questions about the specific numbers of employees that have been hired over the last 4 years? We indicated the attrition numbers as well for you on the right. And like Marty said, we go through a lot of effort to net, not as many new positions to the department as we'd like to, but with the number of employees that are retiring, the number of employees who are leaving the department to go to another city department, and just getting those positions filled in addition to adding new positions, it's a lot of effort in this department to get all that done. Okay, hearing no questions, I'll go to the next slide. Okay, I wanted to kind of bring to your attention some of the information that I think the Personnel Department covered with you last time, which is the number of civil service examinations and lists that they have that they're generating specifically for this department. This slide kind of shows that we have 239 regular lists, and we have 56 of those job classifications exams that are in progress right now. We have 178 continuous lists that are active right now, and we have 77 exams that are in progress for those continuous examinations. And then we have 107 active lists for our on-campus interviews, which are our engineering associate and our utility accountant. And right now, we have 7 exams that are in progress right now. The thing that I wanted to mention about the continuous examinations is that this is an opportunity for the department to have ongoing eligible lists being refreshed by the personnel department, because they are testing more frequently than they would normally do for a normal civil service exam. And what we've seen over the last 4 years is a 92% increase in the number of continuous exams that have been administered for this department. Any questions about the active civil service lists?
So I think the significance for the continuous exams is that, if you will recall, in the past we've talked about waiting for a list or not having a list available, and so positions may sit vacant for some period of time until the civil service test is given. And typically civil service tests are given every 2 years at the most frequent, because a list is typically good for 2 years. And so a lot of times you might have the 2 years pass before another test is given, which also means that more people may want to work for the city or for us and not have an opportunity to get on a civil service list, or at least a particular job classification for a longer period of time. And so Shannon's been working on expanding the list of continuous tests so that we always have active candidate pool, and there's also opportunity for new folks to get on those lists all the time. So that way, critical positions are not waiting with a gap in time, waiting for eligible candidates, and also people who'd like to work for us are having a regular opportunity to become available.
I like that approach as to expand the continuous exam, but I think that we ought to really tackle the larger issue of how to find, recruit, and hire the best and brightest into DWP and retain them. So if I, had my rudders about, really looking at the hiring, let's also look at that larger issue. How do we hire? How do we recruit? How do we retain the best? Because the continuous exam will be good, but if we can't retain them, and as you know, the attrition numbers are increasing as well, and then we have to recruit the best and brightest for our utility. So I just want to put it out there that we ought to look at the other side of really looking at the larger issue. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move to the next slide. So the next slide is basically what the department is going to be doing for 2021 as it relates to our on-campus interviews and our outreach events. So we broke this slide into 4 very specific job categories. The first one shows the historical Black colleges and universities that we will be having on-campus interviews at. The next one talks about the regional colleges and universities that we attend as well for our on-campus engineering associate interviews. The third talks about the various conferences that we will be attending this year. And then the last one talks about the upcoming skilled craft military events that we have, and that the events that we have specifically for women in non-traditional employment roles. For the fall, it's important that the board knows that the on-campus interviews and these conferences and these career fairs are all going to be done virtually. There's no in-person recruitment going on in terms of us going to visit students at their various universities. The interviews themselves, our interview panels will be here in this building, and they will be interviewing the students either at their home or at their university, whatever they choose, but that will all be done virtually. The same goes for the various conferences that we'll be attending in the fall. They're all going to be virtual conferences and virtual career fairs. And so we're going to have individuals from water, power, and joint participate in those conferences and the career fairs as kind of a continued means to keep the word out about having DWP be an employer of choice for individuals who are looking to change or looking to come to this department. To Commissioner Barad's particular question, we have an ongoing relationship with an organization called Winter, and that's Women in Non-Traditional Employment Roles. And prior to the pandemic, they were having regular meetings with us and regular graduations through their program where we were trying to get individuals who were interested to come and look at us as an opportunity to get a job here. Some of our organizations have responded more quickly to the pandemic and have been able to specifically get online very quickly to continue their programs. Others are a little bit slower to get there. And so we are continuing to have dialogue wherever we're going, whether it's with the recruitment events at the military events, because we're both looking at male and female servicemen and women who are coming out of the service to look at jobs that we're trying to get filled where we know that they have the appropriate background and interest to be able to come and successfully do our jobs. But right now, there are no in-person events for us to attend. We don't know what the spring is going to look like yet. We'll have a better idea come January, February to see if the pandemic is coming to a halt or if we're going to have to continue to do everything virtually and everything online.
Yeah. If I could add, if you were to see this slide 5 years ago, 4 years ago maybe, there would be the regional colleges or universities for mostly engineering students, and a little bit of effort in some of the skilled craft. Our engagement with the other groups, particularly engagement with the historically black colleges and universities, is relatively new. Really getting involved with the conferences, particularly now with a chapter of both the National Society of Black Engineers, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and Society of Women Engineers. We become much more engaged. And then, of course, big emphasis on recruiting for the skilled craft, particularly with military. So this list, this is a tremendous expansion in the last just few years toward the outreach, exactly what you were just mentioning, Commissioner. And of course, there's more efforts we want to make, but this has been a big stride forward. Some of it's more mature than other parts, but we are growing this and growing the capability, as well as growing the team here of employees who does the outreach, because it's not just on Shannon's shoulders. Right. It's folks, it's engineers who do engineering recruitment. It's people who've been in the military who go out and try to do military recruitment. People who speak the language, know the folks that they're talking to, and so as we grow that group of folks that help us, we're our own ambassadors, our own recruiters, and those are the people who, when Shannon is able to develop a candidate pool, will actually be interviewing people for jobs as well.
Yeah, all three systems have their own recruitment team, and HR kind of supports the recruitment team. So the events they want to attend and the conferences they want to participate in and the universities they want to go to and the skillcraft job career fairs that they want to attend, we are there to support them. But we do have a more cohesive effort going forward, as Marty indicated. I think a few years back it was less so, but today it's a lot more in terms of water, power, and joint all having their specific recruitment teams, and they're very focused on where they're trying to get the candidates to come apply for the jobs for which they're looking to fill.
Just quickly, how are these teams put together? How are they supported? Is there like a budget line item that supports each of these efforts? And how do we measure success? And I've heard you indicate that this is, I see we're doing 2021. I'd be interested in how this differs from, say, a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. And is this an organized effort to ramp up this work? Just kind of, how's it planned out?
So I'll defer to Marty. I can speak to HR in terms of the budget. I don't know if there's line items for water, power, or joint. I can tell you that HR has a specific line item for, we have a recruitment team specifically in HR, and their role is to basically support the recruitment teams from the other 3 systems. I can tell you...
There's no central sort of overall strategy or management of that effort?
Well, there is management within each system, and I believe the systems are they can correct me if I'm wrong, are mostly absorbing the time to recruit as opposed to certain budgets. So we're not limiting ourselves to a certain amount of budget. We're really focusing on efforts. I'd like Rich to chime in on this, but I know from my standpoint, when I get it, we had a chance to. We first initiated going to historically black colleges, universities. There's a team put together by both water and power of folks who are interested in this and wanted to really to pilot an effort to reach out. And so we looked at that. They developed a plan. We approved it and then approved the travel necessary to go back east to do the recruiting. Rich, I know you've been involved with a lot of this process in the course of your career, but real quick, Commissioner, in response to your, what did it look like 5 years ago? I think it was mostly just the red circle 5 years ago. I may be a little exaggerating, but it was primarily just the red circle. People came to us as candidates when we tried to develop, but we didn't have near the military effort. We didn't have near the conference effort. And we had conference effort, but not really focused like this. And certainly the historical black college university effort is new in the last few years. And so we have really stepped up in this area, and a lot of it comes from the people that came from these areas and them looking at where opportunities are and where they can play a role to recruit from people who have the same background that they have, because they actually become the recruiters and they become the ones that go out and talk on the ground. Shannon's folks go and support. Usually administrative staff goes and supports, but it's people doing the work that maybe they come from a black university, or they are a woman engineer, or they've become, particularly have a lot of folks in the Navy right now. Nuclear Navy's become a great resource for people who work power plants and working behind control centers, that those folks go out and are able to really speak to the candidates and really to try to explain the jobs. Rich, do you want to add, because I know you've been very involved in some of the issues, particularly some of the college recruiting stuff?
Yeah, you hit the recruiting plan exactly the way we do that, and we have increased. Stefan was really instrumental in us getting involved with the HBCUs, and we're continuing that as well as across the nation. And we do, have our own representative folks come out there, kind of our best and brightest to put our best face forward there for recruiting. And we've significantly increased our conferences over the past several years. And then once we do get those lists, then we have as well as a selected and trained kind of upper level staff and management that will actually conduct those interviews and bring folks actually into the organization.
So I don't know if that helps explain a little more. Reagan? Sorry,
Nicole.
Oh yeah, hi. So what happens to people that are identified or are of particular interest after these conferences and visits? Just because, people we might identify that are compelling may also be identified by others, but obviously our process is much longer. So how do we shepherd any of them along or accelerate it? And I know there is some ability to, at colleges, do on-site offers, but what about at these other conferences?
With regards to the engineering conferences, Commissioner, we are basically trying to do the same thing that we do at these universities, where we have individuals from water and power who are the subject matter experts, full engineers, power engineering managers, managing water utility engineers, who are on site who can also interview anyone who's interested in coming to the department so that we can try to get them, hired as quickly as possible. So we are doing interviews at a lot of these conferences. We're going to try to do the same thing virtually this time as well, where we'll attend the conference. If we have individuals who are interested, we'll take their names and we'll immediately schedule an interview for them to be able to be considered for us to be able to hire them at some point in the future.
Yeah, and
we do make same-day offers as well.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, if someone is a 99.
So if a candidate scores 100 on his or her interview, the panel has the option of offering them a same-day job offer. And
How do you get to scores 100?
yeah, they have to score 100 on their interview, and if they score 100 on their interview, the panel can offer them a same-day job offer, and they hand them a letter that basically gives them a couple of days to kind of decide upon this, because oftentimes we're seeing a lot of younger students who are about to graduate and they're there to get information, and they may not necessarily want to commit right then and there to accepting the job, but they have the option to get back to us within a few days, and if they accept it, then as soon as they're done graduating from their university, they have a job with us.
I'm sorry, I may have missed. Is this an objective test that you are taking to score 100 on, or is it a subjective matter?
It's the civil service examination. It's the interview.
Right.
So instead of going to, take it online, you're actually going through the civil service interview right then and there. So it's developed by the personnel department in conjunction with our subject matter experts, meaning our engineers and our higher level engineers, to ensure that we are asking the appropriate questions of all the candidates to elicit the information that we believe is necessary for us to be able to say, yes, we want this individual to come work for us.
So there are a number of classifications where the test is an interview, and even at civil service.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm just trying to understand, because
and so they're very
speak
structured.
Slowly and in English that
Yes,
I can.
I'm sorry. So I know we use a lot.
In regular English, not civil service English. So when I ask you, like for scoring 100, is it an objective, like Are the right answers objectively correct, or are they subjectively correct? How do I score 100?
It's as objective as the people on an interview panel can be. So there are set questions. They know what a correct range of answers would be. I'll tell you, years ago there used to be like check off the word answers, and they've gotten past that now, because that was kind of silly. But you're talking people who are work here. So the people who work here.
Okay, I understand the answer. So it's subjectively objective. I think that's what
exactly
Joe has said.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and just say that. So it's not like, because objective for me is there's a right answer and a wrong answer. There's a mathematical equation. There's something objective. These are answers that are, you do it right, and there's some subjectivity to determining whether you are a superstar or not, but you've got a criteria which indicates superstar. And if you hit the criteria that indicates superstar, then you can get a same-day offer.
And just to clarify, on the interview sheet, there actually are like categories to kind of guide the raters. I will tell you, as much as you can say, because you're right, it is subjectively objective. I will tell you that for people who interview and do this regularly and are skilled, each interviewer typically scores independently, and then they look, and the similarity in scores and what they see is striking. I have rarely been in any group or any panel, all the interviews I've ever done, and ones I've heard about, where people see things totally differently. It is amazing that independently, subjectively, people hear the same thing and come to the same conclusion based on the structure of this. So it's as subjective as people can be. The similarity in what they hear and see and judge is really strong.
President McLean, if I could just say, practically speaking, what usually happens in the on-campus interviews in that context is...
I can barely hear you. Can you speak up or go closer to the mic?
There we go. So what typically happens in these on-campus interviews for a same-day job offer is the raters obviously have a sense that this is a stellar candidate. At the end of the interview, one of the raters will will ask the candidate if she'll step outside for a moment. They'll confer, and then they will ask her to come back in, and they'll give her a letter. And it's a particular letter indicating the requirements and the procedures of the same-day job offer.
Right. And for most candidates, because that's not a real common thing, and again, you know, we do that. Folks at City Hall, Bureau of Engineering does the same thing for engineers. If not, then you get a score and you go on a civil service list. And then when we go to when someone certifies the list, suppose like Reiko just hired a cadre of electrical engineers, she certified the list for X number of electrical engineers, and they go to the list, and civil service provides a range of dozen or 2 dozen or 3 dozen names of who's reachable by their score on that list. So that's the process by which it goes through. For most everyone, that's the process. You're on a civil service list, and when your score is reachable, then when jobs come up, you get an opportunity to interview.
And the job offer is a conditional job offer, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And how many, so just to close this out, because I'm a little curious about it as well.
I apologize.
Well, no,
it's good to understand it.
No, just
yeah.
what is the percentage? Because I think that Commissioner Newman Brady's issue or question was, if we, as we're conducting these interviews and identifying candidates, we're not the only people or the only game in town. It takes us longer to make the decision than everybody else, so that puts us at a competitive disadvantage. And the response was, well, we can do same-day job offers. Of course, if you were like, you know, over the moon, superb, and score 100. So just how many of those by percentage would you say are actual same-day offers as opposed to the more elongated process where we probably are at a competitive disadvantage?
I'm not really sure the actual percentage numbers. I can tell you that it's a few. It doesn't happen as often as I think we would all hope it would. But we can go back and look and see what the percentages have been over the last year in terms of same-day job offers that have been offered and accepted, because not all of them accept the job. Right. So, but I can't tell you it's 5%, 10%. I don't really know. I just know that it's not as large as I think we would hope it would be.
And I will say along those lines, I agree. We've only been able to offer same-day job offers for the last couple of years.
Couple years, yeah.
Right. So, so we have not had a lot of data on their track record on this yet. I will say that one of the things that happens a lot of times is, particularly in a university setting, a lot of kids are getting offered jobs at the end of their junior year because they may work for someone over the summer. And so we used to have how many months between the time you graduated, from the time you interviewed to you had to graduate, and the civil services extended that so that we could be more competitive. That may not be enough in every case, because there are some places where there's specialties, and you know, your top students are already getting job offers before we're allowed to make that offer. So, but what is the rule now, Shannon? How many months?
There's that 9-month locking clause, so you can be within 9 months of graduating from your university and be offered a job and be able to accept it. Prior to that, it was 6 months. So we do the on-campus interviews in the spring and in the fall every year. And so we try to hit those individuals who were 6 months away from graduating so that we could kind of get them before they actually graduate, so they don't have any other job offers that they need to be concerned about. We asked the personnel department and they agreed to expand it. I know that there are individuals within the organization that like to go to 12 months. So as they're finishing their junior year, before they even enter their senior year, they would like to be able to have gotten them so they don't have to worry about jobs their senior year. So we're working still with them on that, but right now the rule has been for at least the last year, 9 months.
So one of the things, I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Commissioner, you muted yourself.
Sorry. That seems very clear for thank you, Cynthia, for the colleges and the universities. But still, I want to touch up on the skilled craft and the military folks. And I think the biggest distinction is the colleges and universities are likely to be all entry-level individuals. Is this process of expediting and doing an interview on the spot only for entry-level positions, such that, you know, that you may be unable to hire people that are talented on the spot because they're a little more senior level, or does that go across all the various levels, or at least some levels?
Okay. So currently, we are working with the power system and the personnel department on doing an expedited testing for their load dispatchers. And what I mean by that is that right now, the personnel department is offering the written test, because there's a two-component test for the load dispatcher positions. There's a written test, and then there's the interview. And so right now, we have worked out a system where we can go to a military base. We can have anyone who's interested in becoming a load dispatcher take the written test, get the results of that written test fairly quickly so that we can schedule interviews on the base while we're there. And again, if they score 100 or better on their interview, we could make a same-day job offer to those candidates as well. And that, we haven't really been able to roll that out quite yet because of the COVID situation, but we've had discussions with a number of the naval bases that we're going to be doing these on-site career fairs, for lack of a better word, where we're going to start interviewing and having these individuals take the written test so that we can actually capture them sooner rather than later. We continue to have discussions with the personnel department with regards to where we can also expand this opportunity, you know, depending upon the jobs. I think we have the same thing for our electric distribution mechanic, if I'm not correct, Michael?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So for our line worker position in particular, if the individual scores, I don't know, is it a 95 or higher, Michael, on their practical test?
That's correct.
Okay, if they score 95 or higher on their practical test, the power system could make that individual a same-day job offer as well, so we don't lose them to some other utility.
Yeah, Commissioner, you read my mind. Actually, that's what I was just about to say, is that, you know, how we roll this out to other classifications, and even from the college setting, about a couple years ago, we looked at trying to expanding this into, say, the IT set of jobs, because you also have IT professionals that are graduating, and you want to be able to, you know, be able to handle it the same way and capture them when they're coming out of school. Andy has been very involved in this. I know we've heard from him in the past, you know, about being at lineman conferences at colleges and other utilities where they're making job offers right then, and the fact that we need to be able to do that to be competitive. And so, Andy, I don't know if you want to add any comments, but this is something that's very much on our mind. Doug, can I share your story? So, just when Doug Tripp was the chief of staff to Councilmember Rodriguez, there was an issue where we were actually looking at an interesting class cement finisher. They were looking at that because Bureau of Street Services has a lot of sidewalk repair, and they needed cement finish and couldn't get it done. So they actually were working on a program with a junior college where when someone finished a curriculum and graduated to a curriculum, if they did a demonstration test, they could be given a same-day job offer. So a very untypical class for that kind of thing. But when you think of what a civil service exam for a cement finisher would be, you know, why would graduating from a certified program and demonstrating your skill not be the appropriate test for something like that? So that got derailed a little by COVID at the beginning as well. But there have been efforts for various reasons in the city to reach out, because certainly hiring engineers is a lot cleaner process and quicker. It can be quicker than folks, you know, going through the typical civil service interview. So how to get through that process and look at those opportunities. And Shanna's been very involved in this. Andy, did you want to add anything along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you saw, but I kept pressing the raise my hand button here. So I've been waiting patiently.
No, you just have to wave. We can't see on the screen.
So anyway, no, I appreciate that, and I think, you know, we have been able to make that change for on the EDM line series, where if a person comes to us from another utility with already a journeyman line ticket, then if he scores, you know, 95 or higher on his practical, we can give him an on-the-spot job offer. Where we're impacted is more in getting the training levels. You know, we go and visit the lineman colleges and, you know, visit their graduating classes, and you know, we go there and we give them our program, talk to them all about it, show them how to apply for our test, and as we're walking out the door,
Southern California Edison or the investor owns are conducting interviews and making job offers. And so that's somewhere we need to be. And I think Shannon or Michael could expand on this, but one of the real issues we have to address in getting people in, especially as we go to open it up and get more information out and let more people within the city know about the opportunities that are there. The charter really calls for us to promote from within first. And so, existing employees get seniority points. So if we want to be able to have outside people compete, we have two lists, an open and a promotional list. And the issue becomes we have to exhaust the promotional list before we get to the open list. And we've had some military people who have scored 98% on our exams, yet had to wait for that promotional list to exhaust itself, and never got an opportunity to actually interview for a job. So I think on some of these lists, that's where we really need to and we may need the board's help in trying to address this with
Andy,
civil service.
Andy, what do you think about that process? I mean, what would you want to change?
Well, what I've noticed is, and there's a distinction, and I know we've talked to Michael and Shannon about it, and we're kind of bound right now by the city, civil service rules. I would like us to be able to just give any of those lists that we've had in the past that have been open and promotional, give them as open lists and let everybody compete. The problem with that right now is if we do that, the existing city employees lose their civil service credit. So they, normally they'd get maybe a quarter a point a year in their qualifying class. So they may get 2 to 3 points for being a city employee. And currently, if we do that, then they lose those points. So that's kind of something between myself and the Joint Trusts and Safety Institute are kind of looking and trying to look and see and working with Michael and Shannon if there's a way around that. We're in the process right now with Trade Tech and the Joint Trust Institute. The Power System has created a program, and we're piloting it right now with about 60 employees, that if they take an online electrical course that'll be given through Trade Tech, and any high school student within the city of LA will be able to take the course for free online, that qualifies them for 11 different exams. But again, some of those exams are going to be open and promotional, and on a lot of these exams, 200 to 300 people die on lists every exam. So I don't know if Shannon or Michael can expand on just that, the civil service rules and the charter provision on that. But I think that's something that, if we're really serious about opening the door and getting more people from the city in, that's something we need to find a way to address.
Yeah, Shannon, if I could just say real quickly, what Andy's talking about is Charter Section 1009, and it is designed to give current city employees, promotional candidates, a preference. It was designed that way. It does, however, as we have heard from management and IBEW several times, it does have operational effects. And so what we hear over and over from the hiring divisions is, we just want to be able to hire folks on a level playing field. We're willing to consider everybody, but there are some outstanding open candidates that, for the reasons Andy just explained, we're not really able to consider them. I mean, we might be able to if they get through the promotional candidates and they're hiring a lot of people off that list, we may dip down into the open ranks. But the reality is there are a lot of open candidates, highly qualified open candidates, to whom we never reach, and that's hard. And it also, I think, an underlying point here is, to some extent, it puts sort of a chilling effect and a practical restriction on our recruitment efforts. You know, the water and power recruitment teams and HR's coordinating centralized unit spend a lot of time and energy and resources going out to recruit. But if these folks are interested, they've learned a lot about the job from our subject matter experts, but they end up not being able to take the test, I think it's discouraging, and they're probably going to go elsewhere. Shannon and I have been having conversations with our counterparts at the Personnel Department about 1009. There does seem to be some interest at other departments as well in taking a look at it and perhaps considering if it could be revisited. And so we continue to talk to the Classification Division about that.
To Michael's point, there has been ongoing conversations with the Personnel Department regarding certain charter provisions that have been very difficult not only for this department but other city departments as well. And I know that the Mayor's office in particular had asked the Personnel Department to ask all city departments to provide some feedback as to where they are having difficulties with the existing charter and with the existing civil service rules to help us get past that. So we have provided information to the Personnel Department with regards to those areas, some of which Andy has kind of touched upon. I know Rich and others have had the same challenges trying to get some of their positions filled as well. So we're hopeful that they're going to be making some meaningful changes going forward that will kind of remove some of the challenges that we've had and that we're going to continue to have if we don't have the ability to actually go out and do targeted recruitment, if those individuals can't take the examination and or if they'll never be considered because they're not existing employees to begin with. So I think we are going to continue to have those discussions. I think at some point there is supposed to be some kind of report back to the Mayor's office in terms of what charter provisions they were looking at changing, because it's up to the Mayor and the Council to then put something on the ballot to have those changes be reflected to basically put us in a position to be able to hire more efficiently and more targeted going forward.
Yeah, and I think this gets to the whole root of the question. You go out, you make a big effort, you be successful, you get people excited about getting a job, they find a way to get on a list, and then it doesn't go anywhere. And so this is that piece where we can do all those things, which you're getting, as you can see with the charts, we're getting better and better at. But if you can't deliver at the end of the day for the candidate pool that you've created, then you've really done everybody a disservice. So this is getting near the end of completing that loop to make sure that we actually can bring in the people that we're working hard to get, and that they have a fair shot at competing. So
it also impacts our local hire outcomes, right? Our goal. So even if we do that, the partnership with LA Trade Tech, for example, but they still have to take they qualify to take the, several civil service exams. Just getting into that exam process, the length of that, the waiting period is a killer. I mean, that's really not an incentive. Right.
But it's not timely. You're struggling. Right?
It is, and quite honestly, Commissioner Reyes, one of the other challenges that we have is that we are engaging on all of these really good efforts to try to help target local communities within the city, only to find out that when these individuals go to apply, they can't even apply because there are too many internal promotional city employees who've applied for that examination, and the number of vacancies that will need to be filled, there's no need for outside individuals to be considered to be tested because they have ample people within the city organization who can fill those vacancies. And that's very difficult, not just for this department, but it's difficult for every other city department who's looking to try to do community outreach, trying to bring in, for lack of a better word, new employees into the organization. And
so is that quantified?
In what sense?
Meaning, I assume that we can quantify it. Do we know, for instance, how many employees or how many people have been left out of the process because how many recruitment? You talk about our recruitment efforts being stymied by this particular provision and kind of feedback loop or internal hiring loop, do we actually, can we put a number on that?
We can.
And do we know, for instance, how many people we've hired into the department that did not have a prior city connection?
We can try and go back and get that information for you. One of the difficulties that we have is that we go and do our outreach effort, we get the individuals the information with regards to the examinations, and sometimes we hear back from them and sometimes we do not. The situation that Andy has raised as relates to this discussion, we got feedback from actually IBEW with regards to a number of individuals who were referred through the trade tech program who went to go file for the examination and were told, sorry, you're not going to be tested.
That was ECH.
Yeah, and that's how we found out about that.
Right.
But we can go back and try to quantify wherever we can to kind of show where this is having an impact on our ability.
I mean, the only reason that I'm asking the question is because, from my perspective, if you're trying to get to a specific result, then it becomes really important to be crystal clear about what the impediments are and to be able to document those impediments as you are pressing for changes in the system that will allow you to get to your result. And like you, I would be quite concerned about ramping up outreach on the front end, knowing on the back end that it's not going to make a lick of difference.
Right.
And so that means if I'm actually trying to make a difference, I have to tackle the impediments in a very serious and sustained way. So I think that probably is the thing that, that my antenna will be focused on. And doing that means that you're actually identifying and documenting your impediments so that when you're having the conversation, it's not kind of anecdotal, one, and two, it's not from the perspective of being resigned to this is just the way it is.
No, and I don't think that's the case, Commissioner. I think, we can go back and look at all those eligible lists that had both open and promotional candidates, and we can see where the open list was never certified. Right. And if that's the case, then all of those individuals on that list were never given an opportunity for a job. We can do that. The difficulty that we have with regards to, I think, one of your asks is in terms of the people that we've actually done outreach for and gotten them, oftentimes, like I said, we don't know whether they even take the examination or they just kind of take the information.
Well, no, just the first piece would be good,
right.
Because again, it's much better if you're armed with actual demonstrable data as you're trying to make your point.
And I agree. And I think there's also another thing that I wanted to kind of raise is that there is flexibility when it comes to open and promotional. And there is a rule that allows any department to ask the Personnel Department and the Board of Civil Service Commissioners to certify open candidates' names above and ahead of promotional. But there's a very specific criteria that needs to be met. So case in point, as Andy pointed out, if you have a scenario where you have a promotional list and they have candidates that have scores in the high 90s, and the highest scoring candidate on the open list is in the low 80s, then the chances are we're never going to get to that opportunity. However, if you have open candidates that have high 90 scores and the next highest promotional candidate is below that score of the open candidates, we can actually request the Personnel Department and the Civil Service Commission to allow us to certify the open candidates that have the higher scores than the remaining promotional candidates to try to get to that open list. We have done that. Not often, but we have done that where we can actually effectuate that type of change. So that's an option that we have going forward, and we will make sure in our ongoing conversations with all three systems that if they come up against a situation like that and we actually have higher scoring candidates on the open list than the remaining promotional list, that we should be submitting those requests to the Personnel Department, and then we go before the Civil Service Commission to have them approve the request. So that's an option that we have right now.
Thank you. I will let you continue
Okay.
and not say much else except
There's a lot of
with
moving
respect
parts.
to with respect to the issues that Commissioner Berard rightly puts on the table every single time we talk about employment. We are lacking in significant respect with respect to female employment at the department. And of course, Commissioner Reyes mentioned local hire, and I think that's another area where we would very much like to have a much greater impact. And so it would seem to me that thinking about this in a very strategic way so that we can not continue to just reinforce the status quo, but actually make significant strides toward our goal will be critical. Was there someone on the video or on the screen that had a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that. I think I think we got a little bit hampered here by COVID, and I'll take responsibility for that because I don't think I got this done quick enough, and I should have been able to get this done before COVID started. But one of the programs we are working on and had hoped to have this summer, and we'll have it.
To managerial.
Commissioner Berard, I think you need to mute.
Or they can mute her.
Or are we able to mute Commissioner Berard? No, go ahead, Andy.
So one of the programs we had started and we're modeling after something I saw up in Portland about a little over, closer to 2 years ago, is they have a women in the trades program where they bring in one day, it's a 2-day program, and they bring in kids from school, women from school, from the different schools in the community, and they get, all the trades are there, and they get hands-on to see what kind of the work is. Kids were running backhoes, they were operating jackhammers, climbing poles, and that's something we are working towards being able to do that here. The department has 47 different trades just within the department itself, not including if you go out to the city. So again, I own the fact that we didn't get this done before COVID started. But being that it's an in-person thing, it was something I promise you will get done as soon as we can get groups of people back together. But again, and that's something we'll be looking at as our recruitment in the schools. We do, within the power system safety and training, do recruitment in the high schools, and I've been working with Ty Washington a bit to sort of educate me on Facebook, because I'm not a real big social media person, on how we can take the videos we've created that we would normally be, going to the high schools and showing and doing, on how we put those on Facebook and get them out to the community. So again, we don't have to wait till we can get back out there, to recruit, both, from the schools and in the city, and especially with, females and women in the workplace. So, again, I apologize. But that is something we're working towards. And again, I think we have a real opportunity with the program we've created here within Trade Tech, that once we're ready to go live with it, that will give, open up a lot of opportunity. And it's something we're committed to and focusing on.
Okay, well, thank you. If someone would...
Very helpful.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to add that in a regional college and university, I think we could list Mount St. Mary's University, which is a woman's college and has two campuses. One is Doheny near SC, and the other is on Chelan Road in Brentwood. And I think that, and also 80% of their student body are Latinas. And what I would like to hear from staff is not only how we're recruiting people and outreaching women, but also how we are promoting women from within or managerial positions. How do we make that available, and how are we doing that? That would I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so let me address the outreach that we're trying to do with regards to female candidates in the craft classes. As Andy pointed out, we have certain limitations as it relates to what job classifications we can actually recruit to have people be able to take the exam immediately versus developing individuals to be able to take an exam at some point in the future. And I think that's one of the challenges that Andy's trying to look at right now so that he can level the playing field for a lot of these individuals he's hoping to get to go into some of these more critical craft classes. When I mentioned earlier our relationship with the nonprofit Women in Non-Traditional Employment Roles, or WINTER, they have training programs specifically that are designed for females to get into mostly construction jobs, but they also have, some components that would be in line with the job classifications that we're trying to hire for as well. And we were having more ongoing opportunities to have discussions with their graduates prior to the pandemic hitting. And I kind of mentioned that some of our organizations have been really good about getting online quicker. They're having a little bit challenge with their online capabilities, but they're getting there. So as soon as they can get online, we can have that continued dialogue about trying to get some individuals who are going to be graduating through their program to kind of look at us as an employer of choice as well. In terms of promotional opportunities for women in this department, as was kind of noted the last time the personnel department was here, our examinations, with the exception of Marty's executive management team, are all civil service. So they're not precluded from taking any civil service examination. They can take any civil service examination that they meet the requirements for, and that's never going to be a barrier for any of our female employees here. It's just, do they have the appropriate requirements, and do they meet the ability to take the test? So with regards to the organization, we are seeing a lot more females going into some of the higher level positions in the organization. I can speak for HR only. I have 3 female directors. I have all female second line managers within HR. And HR is a little bit different for obvious reasons, but we're kind of the exact opposite of the department. So we are 75% female and 25% male in HR. And like I said, I have all of the female managers, with the exception of Michael, Thomas, and myself. All the other managers in HR are female. And so, and that's not through any effort of mine. It's just that they specifically promoted into these positions, and they were the best qualified candidates when we were going to fill the vacancies. So.
And I would add that, a lot of what we see is job growth, chance to do challenging work, have good projects, get broad experience, and there's been a more concerted effort to make sure that, that all folks are given the opportunities to really get the experience and the breadth of their, in their career that they need to be able to promote and to do well, be competitive. Reiko, I think I lost your picture. Did you want to add anything on this? I know this is an issue that you're particularly interested in and have made some big strides in.
Yeah, I think number one is the awareness of the issue and trying to address it, but I think requires a holistic look at. When we come in and we did that large hiring that we talked about for the PEMs, when I came in initially that we had one female manager out of 100. And so Andy and I, and Marty, you too, assisted in that process to look at, what are some of the institutional barriers that are there just because that's how we've always done things, how we've always done our hiring, that are resulting in the numbers and metrics that we have today. And are there, is it fair, number one? Are there different, is there specific criteria you're requiring that doesn't have anything to do with the job that screens out specific candidates? And so I think it requires that holistic look, and we started down that process. We're not done. I think it's a long-term fix. I think 22% women clearly is not representative of our community, and appreciate the inquiry on where we are management-wise, the different levels, because I think it requires that look throughout the organization. And we continue to do that. We continue to I think what makes a difference here, when we talked about gender, Andy never thought about looking at it, but it's very different when it comes from him saying we need to be looking at this versus when it comes from me. And whether that's racial, whether that's gender, I think that's true. It's got to be across the board, very sustained, engaged, intentional effort for us to make the meaningful change that I think we need to make.
And if I may add, we do have the data. I mean, I've asked HR for demographic data before, and you could clearly see how many of our employees are representative of our population, well and good, but you can also see where the gaps are. Where are our Black employees? Are they only in the middle management, and why are they not up in the executive leadership? You can see that. You can see the Latinx folks and really looking as where they are in terms of management and leadership within the department. So I would encourage, I don't know who's supposed to do that there be a deeper probe and analysis into those data that we have, and where those what targeted efforts we should do in order to advance the voices of women and the promotion of women leadership within the department.
Sure, Susanna, we can look at metrics not only by bargaining unit,
yes,
but also all the way down to each classification, yes, for ethnicity and gender.
Yes.
Should we have Shannon go ahead?
I don't want to be here until 3 o'clock with you guys, because you guys got other things to do.
Whatever you
but you want me to go to the next slide, or do we
Yes, you would move on.
Okay, I'm going to try to move this quickly. Okay, so the next slide talks about the 42 critical classes by system that we have eligible lists for at all times. So this kind of gives the department some additional security that when they need to make job offers and when they need to fill vacancies, they will have that. I highlighted those that are specifically those exams that are given on a continuous basis. I left off 2, so I apologize for that. But assistant communications cable worker and electric distribution mechanic are also administered on a continuous basis. So of the 42, we have 13 that are continuous. And like I said, that gives the department the opportunity to fill vacancies without having to worry about whether or not they have the ability to do so. Okay? The last slide that I'm going to cover with you, I'll go over real quickly. It just kind of talks about what our hiring rules and policies are in this department. So, as the personnel department indicated, we are governed by the city charter and the civil service rules. We also have our memorandum of understanding bid plans that Michael will go into a little bit more detail about, that are basically our negotiated hiring procedures with our labor partners that provide specific prioritization of our internal candidates, and there are specific timelines for posting opportunities and fulfilling those positions. And then finally, just to kind of give the board some understanding of what HR's role is in the overall department's hiring practice, We are basically responsible for reviewing and approving the interview and selection packages for the department. And we do that to ensure that the employment decisions are fairly applied, they are consistent, and they meet the federal, state, and city equal employment opportunity laws and rules. That's our role. We don't determine for the divisions when they can hire, who they can hire, or how many they can hire. We are simply here as a resource to them, and we're kind of here to make sure that when they do this, it's done in a way that meets the criteria as it relates to the merit system that we have in the city. Okay? I'll turn it over the next part of the presentation to Michael.
Thanks, John.
Great. Thank you very much. Commissioners, I want to be respectful of your time. I have a lot of detailed information. I'm going to pick and choose the most important parts for you to try to give you a really good sense of how we hire at DWP. So if we could move to the next slide. Perfect. So this is sort of our stairway to hire, if you will. This is an internal hiring process overview, and this is what we were talking about before. We use this process when we are hiring from the authority of a bid notice or a transfer reassignment opportunity. And you can see that there are 6 steps total, and the first 3 compose the advertisement stage, has 12 to 19 days. The last 3 compose the selection phase, 26 to 27 days. And you can see on top of each of these steps that there's a cumulative running total of days. These are approximate, and there's a bit of a range due to a number of circumstances. I'll go through each of these steps briefly, and then I'll make some important points about unique areas. And then we'll do the exact same thing for the second type of internal hire, which is when we go to use a civil service list.
So you're going to go through each stage very briefly.
Yes, I am.
Because it's spelled out pretty clearly, and we can all read.
Very good. So the vacancy or notice, this is simply when the division identifies the vacancy and they get upper management approval. The job notice is when the division creates the bid or TRO and HR approves. The third step, the posting, we've noted in red because it is governed by the MOU provisions. And so that is, as the MOU states, 7 working days, which it must be posted. We then move on to the interview or performance test section. This is when the division schedules candidates for interviews and they conduct those interviews. And then the interview and selection process or package itself, which is what, after the interviews take place, the divisions submit to HR. And it is all of the required documents according to our interview and selection guidelines. And you can see we're running up through, we're at 30 days now typically. And then finally, the job offer is made, and that ends with the division making a job offer. We typically have a 2-week minimum start date, so that gives the releasing division time to make changes. So that takes us up through 46 days. And if you move to the next slide, please. We've just sort of summarized this process, and you can see in the advertisement stage, I just sort of broke down who is responsible for what. And it's really striking. You can see of those total days, 11 to 17 are with the division. This just gives you an idea of how much of this critical work is being done by the administrative staff in the hiring divisions. A lot of it is governed by HR. We review and approve certain aspects, but less time of it is with HR. Same thing with the selection process as well. We could go to the next slide, please.
Just real quick, Commissioner Reyes, you had asked last time to identify what we have control over and what we don't have control over.
Yes.
So everything in green we have control over, everything in red we do not.
All right.
Understood.
And I might note that one of the challenges divisions all face is that when you have more vacancies and less people to do the work, it takes more time to do the hiring. And so this is a challenge, and we are trying to find ways to relieve that, because you could have supervisors and managers who spend a majority of their time hiring people, which prevents them from being able to do the rest of their job. So it's always a yin-yang in this.
12:10. We're likely to be done with this presentation, and
we can probably skip the next couple of slides.
Sure. The next process is essentially the same, except for the middle part, which has the personnel department that reviews our certification request. and then they would take anywhere from 5 to 7 days to send us a cert list from that eligible list that the Personnel Department explained last time.
So slide 12 is the cert list process?
Slide 12 is, it is a cert.
It's an example.
Yes, it is a cert list process. And if I could go through it very quickly, this gives you an actual example of a hire from the beginning to the end. And you can see that it has 5 primary columns here. The first is the cert request and approval. And this is an example like we were discussing earlier. The power system submitted a cert request for 30 electrical engineering associates. And that was submitted to the Personnel Department within a couple of days. Personnel generated that cert list on 12/26. And so you can see that they're moving approximately consistent with these time frames. The middle column is reporting in on the certification and scheduling and conducting of interviews. And if you look at this example, this is actually a very typical example of electrical engineering associate, which is one of our temporary training positions. DWP has 536 electrical engineering associates right now. It's one of our most primary engineering associate classifications. So the candidates reported in on their availability. Power scheduled interviews, and if you'll note, Power interviewed 59 candidates on January 11th. That was a Saturday. That's an extraordinary number of interviews to conduct on a Saturday, considering you have to compose the rating panels, and they selected 21. This is an example of what the GM was speaking about earlier. They certed for 30. They ended up picking 21 ultimately based on reachability on that list. And then the last 2 columns explain 2 things. One is backgrounds at the Personnel Department, and you would see that there is some delay here because, as Shannon was mentioning earlier, we interview electrical engineering associate candidates often before they've graduated. So in order for us to give them a conditional job offer, they have to show evidence of that degree, and sometimes that takes a little time. Finally, in the last column, once the power system has made the conditional job offer, they will send to the candidates electronically a form we have with the Personnel Department. We call it the AIF, the Additional Information Form. And this is when we ask selected candidates about their arrest and conviction history. We're not permitted to ask them any question like that before they get a conditional job offer from us. This is simply their opportunity to disclose any arrest or conviction information they may have. And we make absolutely certain they understand that does not mean they will be disqualified. We then get that information, and it is submitted to the Personnel Department, who typically turns that around in a couple of days. And you can see that happened. So normally a process like this might take around 54 days. This one took a little bit longer, started on December 16th and ended on February 17th, 2020. Given the time of year and the number of interviews that Power was conducting, this was actually quite a feat.
So are you ready to move on to the last page? Okay, so let's go. Can we go to the last slide, please?
Sure, absolutely. So, you want to talk?
Yeah. The next one.
So
one more? Or?
No, we'll go to the last slide.
Okay.
So we put on the last slide a couple of areas that I thought that the board probably wanted to have a lot of conversation about, and these are the other hiring issues. And so we indicate a candidate pool versus hiring process, the civil service hiring within the legal framework, and Prop 209 and affirmative action going forward. So we don't have anything specific to talk to you about. We just put that out there because we figured that's where you're going to have a lot of questions around these general areas.
And I think we've touched on a lot of those things.
I think we've had already a lot of that conversation on the front end.
Yeah, I think we've got to that. And I think, so interestingly, when you look at this, I mean, the process is pretty well defined, and the process works. It doesn't get to the question of, can you recruit the candidates that you were really hoping to see, particularly where it pertains to the people who may not have opportunities or people in non-traditional roles, and can you actually get them to the door to be able to offer them a job. And there's some gaps in the process. It's not for lack of generating candidates, it's just maybe partly for lack of that in process that you noted. So there's work to do on that we're working on. And then, of course, there are a lot of efforts, both existing and many more coming up, for really building the candidate pool and really reaching out into the community to create more candidates. But as we noted, if we can't deliver at the end of the day, then those efforts are all for naught. So we have to be able to complete the loop to make sure that people can successfully get in the door.
And this is just talking about our hiring issues, right? We haven't talked about the job classification, if we can consolidate some of them so that then it's easier to examine and to hire and recruit and all that. So
and within job classification, sometimes we're actually working on creating specific job classifications for the utility. One area that Shannon's been involved in is tree surgeon, which the city has tree trimmers, but we have tree trimmers that are focused on around high voltage wires, so it's a different skill set. So there are places we have unique skill sets that we share a class, and if we're able to identify a class that just does our skill set, then that'll help us, I think, in some of that, because even though someone has a common classification, the work could be very, very different from what us and other city departments do.
Are there any additional questions or comments? Looks like there aren't. I would simply observe that the challenge here seems to be one, the interest, both interest and sort of probably reasonable compulsion to describe everything as being merit-based and fair and objective and level playing field, which, sort of always is filtered through these kinds of presentations on the one hand. On the other hand, what we hear, and I think Reiko pointed to it in her comments about promotions, that the actual outcomes are impacted by who's in the room and whether we're being intentional about achieving objectives A versus B versus C, which suggests that this impartial, fair, merit-based level playing field doesn't necessarily exist, notwithstanding the relative objectivity of the process. And I think going forward, we will want to, as a board, to really challenge and collaborate with staff to get us beyond a point where we are being driven by the process or by the logistics of all of this, which is, complex, and after a point, complexity for me is always problematic, but which is overly complex, which, there are 100 different ways to say, no, we can't get there. And instead that we will apply more intention and more focus on achieving the actual result with a level of urgency that befits the objectives, would be where I come out on all of this. Is a fascinating, helpful, and really table-setting presentation. But I think Susanna noted a number of topics that can influence how this works. Andy, indicated that there are a number of things on his end that he has been working on that could also influence how this works. And I have been told both privately and, again, with Reiko's observation, very publicly, that simply who is overseeing the process and the intentions of those parties can impact what the outcomes are. So it seems to me that what is required is a systematic, intentional plan that is coordinated by somebody or some department that is designed to move us toward a set of objectives around hiring and promotion that better serves the department's interests than just, whatever we can cobble together and whatever happens through this current process, which, if we just look at the results, does not serve our current interest terribly well. So with that, I thank you, and we will move to the next presentation. 5 minutes? Sure. About a 5-minute break has been requested. I'm everybody went dark. All right, great. Thank you. We'll be back in, let's say, 10 minutes, just to be fair. We'll be back in 10. Thank you.
Not everybody might appreciate that.
Yes.
It's hard to. Thanks, guys.
You like the subjective objectivity?
Mm-hmm. We learned a new word.
What word? What?
Subjective objectivity.
Yeah, well, I would try to keep
I don't think we're muted, are we?
That's
Mel.
ready.
Found it.
Okay.
I had to do a little searching, but we got it.
All right. Good.
We are recording.
We are
Everybody
recording.
here is okay? Everybody good?
We are recording. I'm going to take roll call. Commissioner Berard? Commissioner Levine?
Here.
McLean Hill?
Here.
Neiman Brady?
Here.
Reyes?
Here.
4 and a quorum.
All right, then we will begin our next item, 8B, Ms. Yancey.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wendy asked if I make her sit. I'm really making her sit up here, but yes. So next, I wanted to report to the board on how we're doing on our efforts toward racial equity and diversity at the department, and give you an update of the efforts that we have going on so far and the direction that we're heading. If you would indulge me, I would like to read into the record a letter that I put out this morning that President, you referred to earlier. This went out this morning a little before the board meeting to all employees. And I think it sets the stage for where we're at and where we're heading. So I will, to the best of my abilities, read through the letter. So this is a message from the General Manager to the employees of the Department of Water and Power. I recently celebrated 36 years of working for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. In the summer of 1984, I came to this department as a young civil engineer, knowing that I was becoming part of something bigger. Since that time, I've proudly worked alongside many colleagues that came from different backgrounds, faiths, cultures, and ethnicities. Many of these colleagues became very good friends as we worked together on projects that changed the department and the city of Los Angeles. We worked under a banner of core values and standards on which this department was founded. I remember sometime about 20 plus years ago, the then general manager boldly proclaimed that our employees are our most valuable resource, our most important asset. That idea has lived on ever since, likely because it is simply true. We collectively are the lifeblood of this organization. But unfortunately, we have not always acted according to this important reality. For many of the men and women of the department, this core value has been underrepresented and never quite realized in their employment, even as they, no different from me, gave countless hours of hard work to improve this department and this city. Over the past weeks, as I've talked with more of my coworkers about the uncomfortable subject of race, I get tiny glimpses of what it is to be African American and to face issues of direct discrimination and even subtle unconscious biases. I believe that these were mainly issues of years past, but they still exist today. And some of those experiences are right here at LADWP. Just as we've been discussing gender equity for the past year, issues of racial equity and institutional biases are real. Years of talk and training have only gone so far. Like so many of you, I look at where we are now in regards to the issues of race and equity, and I contemplate on the best path moving forward. As general manager of the largest municipal utility in the nation, this has been a time of self-reflection and a sense of recognition that we, as a department, have work to do within our culture, our policies, and our practices, both internally and externally. Now is a time for us to elevate our ideals and create pillars of transparency, thoughtfulness, empathy, and a recommitment towards accountability towards a better LADWP. An LADWP where all employees feel welcomed, valued, and included at every level of the organization. The bottom line is this: our employees at LADWP truly are our greatest asset, and we must ensure that members within the LADWP family are respected, valued, and supported regardless of race, gender, faith, or sexual or gender orientation. This must be ensured by our actions, not simply by our words. On June 19, 2020, Mayor Eric Garcetti signed Executive Directive 27, requiring all city departments to put together a plan that promotes racial equity in hiring promotional practices, as well as in contracting. By mid-September, we will submit the department's Racial Equity Action Plan, which will be an important first step in the process of embracing the responsibility of what we are trying to accomplish. This work will be the springboard to create a broader Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which is shown on our current org chart, but something I had not acted on yet. Helping to lead this effort is Ms. Winifred Yancey, Director of Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs, who has taken on the additional role of our acting racial equity officer, along with one of our new executive assistant AGMs, Mr. Ty Washington. As we identify and build our internal team, our department has engaged the service of two minority firms, Dakota Communications and the Hawkins Company, who are both local powerhouses. I'm also bringing back Mr. Stefan Tucker as a senior advisor to his current employer, Cordova Corporation. Mr. Tucker, Stefan, was instrumental in researching and advancing the ideals of diversity and inclusion here at LADWP before he retired a little more than a year ago. I have instructed senior staff to work alongside this team as we forge a new path in the direction of transformational change and responsibility. These will be long-lasting effects that will move our department forward and will not be relegated to the sidelines nor become what we used to do. It will become who we are. It is incumbent upon me as a leader of this department to set the tone in how we address these inequities within the department's culture and policies surrounding hiring, upward mobility, and pathway to leadership, contracting and procurement, and economic development in the communities we serve. However, these issues cannot and will not be addressed in a vacuum. These are institutional and systemic changes that require widespread engagement from all of our members within the LADWP family, including our partners in labor, starting from top on down. We are now at a time where proper context, empathy, and genuine sincerity can converge into an insightful plan of action. The legacy, we believe, must be that this department is and always will be at its strongest when we are fair, open, and truly committed to unlocking opportunities for men and women of color. I clearly know that I do not have all the answers, but I am ready and willing to learn. With honest reflection, open dialogue, and a willingness to confront the tough challenges, this department will work towards fairness and equitability for everyone. If employees truly are our greatest asset, then now is the time that we prioritize that value with transformative change and action. So thank you for indulging me in that. That letter was sent to all employees today, and it was written and sent with all sincerity that that we are on the, we have an opportunity and alignment now more than ever to really make meaningful change, and I'm excited about the efforts that we are making. So a few things quickly. As I mentioned in the letter, Wendy Yancey is our racial equity officer. She's taken on this role. In theory, unless I can continue to do it, will we hire an officer of diversity and inclusion? She'll continue to do that role. Ty Washington, who's here, is one of our new EAGMs, who I particularly brought on, not just for these efforts, but also particularly for the effort of outreach and develop workforce within the communities that we serve. He has a strong background and connections in that area, and a lot of ideas. We absolutely, definitely have an obligation to help create the workforce of the future, not wait for them to come to our doors on their own. We need to reach out and to do that work ourselves. And in looking at our last presentation, also complete the loop so that when we do that, they can actually enter this as a place of work. Last week, our first draft of the Racial Equity Action Plan was due to the mayor's office. It was a pretty quick turnaround from the time this started. Wendy's been attending meetings with the city's racial equity officer, and we have a draft out. Next week, when we've had another week, which should be a 50% increase in time on the plan, or next board meeting, I'll ask Wendy and the team to daylight the plan and where we are on that effort. Right now, it's already a couple dozen pages, built largely on a lot of work that Stefan actually did when he was here, in terms of research and data and understanding really where we stand today as a department. So knowing where we stand gives us a much better view of where we need to go and where we need to make our efforts. I'm thrilled to have the Dakota team on. I know they're listening. They're not on the screen, but they're listening now. Kerman Maddox and his team will be actively engaged in this effort. They have tremendous experience in this area as well as with the city, and have done work for us before and are stellar performers. And so we're very excited to have them on board. The Hawkins Company is being engaged to help us search and create the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And actually, there may be more words that go into that name in the long run. We've been discussing what all that office should include and what that job looks like, but they'll be helping us to form up the leadership for that office. And then Stefan Tucker, who I mentioned, who was actually I believe the highest ranking African American when he retired about a little more than a year ago, and he is working for another company, but this is, as he told me, some of the most meaningful work that he did, and he's excited to have a chance to come back and advise us as we continue on those efforts and to really move this forward. In the plan that we presented and consistent with what the city's asked for, we really are looking in three particular areas. One is how we are hiring, and then not just hiring, but once we hire, how do people have job growth, career path, opportunity as employees of the Department of Water and Power. The second area is in contracting and in what we can do in our contracting to help, really spread the wealth of all the money that we spend in the business that we do to make sure that all communities, and particularly where we have underserved communities and the African American community, business community, to have opportunities to work for us as contractors and to provide materials and such. Gwen Williams made a lot of strides and efforts in this, and Ty's talked to her at length about the Small Business Academy, and then looking where that really netted work for people afterwards and where it didn't and where those gaps exist. And so we'll be working a lot in this area. And then the last area, of course, is how we relate to the communities around us, the communities that we serve. I think of Nancy Sutley and the work that her team does in customer programs. When we did the rebate for used electric vehicles and how we looked at the heat map for the distribution of electric vehicle chargers throughout the city, the idea of rooftop solar for people who may not own their own roof, how they participate in the Green New Deal and green energy future. And so we've tailored rebate programs to help more customers. I think we need to revisit that and see what else we could do. But other engagements with community-based organizations and people who really need outreach from the department so that they can engage us. And for a lot of folks, we're a mystery, and people don't know what we offer and how to engage with us. And so we want to create those relationships with the communities we serve, particularly communities of color. And so I think there's great work ahead, great possibilities. I believe that we will, continue to lead in this area, that will lead on the inside as well as the outside, and that will make Los Angeles a much better place for it. And so I am very excited about the effort. There will be a number of next steps. Will be regular reports to the board, I promise you, as we do this. The one thing I was going to mention is that this is certainly not the work of a small team and not the work of the senior management team, not the work of me. It's going to be the work of everyone, because I think that unless we really engage everyone and have some meaningful dialogue to really understand where people are at, all people in the department are at, we can't fix the future if we don't understand the present. And so we need to learn about ourselves more. We need to learn about the issues more, and we need all employees to really embrace the issue moving forward together. So there'll be part of the plan that we're working on is an outreach plan to have increased dialogue amongst employees to really get a better understanding and a better grounding of where we are, and then so we can all head to the future together. So with that, I wanted to ask Wendy and Ty if they had any comments they'd like to make about the effort or your experience so far. We'd appreciate to hear anything you have to say.
Thank you, Marty. Briefly, I began my career here at DWP 32 years ago as a student engineer. I thought the day I was eligible to retire, I would be gone. But as I looked around last year, October 1st, 2019, I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to go. But why? For such a time as this. There is a time for everything. A time to be silent, a time to speak, a time to tear down, a time to build. I am truly, truly humbled and count it all joy to be a part of the team that includes not only the general manager and chief engineer, but this board, as well as Ty Washington, Stefan Tucker, who I could probably spend a few hours talking about how important and enlightening and informing it was to sit under his feet for the last couple years he was here doing African American engineer outreach, as well as Dakota Communications and the DWP family. When I came to DWP, we were a family, and I just hope to continue that and to build this department where all employees will feel welcome, valued, and included at every level of this organization. So again, I look forward to presenting to you in the next couple weeks where we are with our plan. It is very informative. Right now, we have gathered a lot of data. Special thank you to Shannon and his team, because within hours' notice, as we think of things we may need, they provided for us. So we're just really culling that data. We'll be meeting with staff, executive level next week, sharing with them with the data, dialoguing, communicating, getting information, and really trying to inform our plan, our action plan. I want to make sure that we always remember that it is an action plan. Gathering the data is great, but it is an action plan. We will hope to implement very systemic programs so that, again, as Marty said, this is not something we did or used to do, but will be something that we do ongoing. So with that, thank you, and I look forward to our continued, I was going to say battle, but it's not a battle, our continued working together to get to a positive end. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
You're the newcomer to the block, so.
Thank you, Wendy. And I want to say thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you. And thank you, Marty, for the opportunity, for giving me this opportunity to work on these initiatives on behalf of this department. I just want to say these are times that we really need to work on self-reflection and taking a look at many of the things that we are uncomfortable in talking with and an uncomfortable talking with one another about. And I think that now is a time of action, and now is a time of planning. I was thinking about everything that we are working on, and it reminds me of a quote by a Roman philosopher. His name is Lucretius. And his quote was, "The fall of dripping water wears away the stone." And I truly believe that the team that we have with Mr. Stefan Tucker, Ms. Wendy Yancey, Marty, of course, this board, Dakota Communications with Kermit Maddox and his team, but most importantly, all the employees of this department, that we are the dripping water that wears away the stone on these issues. That we are the dripping water that actually can take a look, a self-reflection, and handle these issues and look inward and be able to make meaningful, transformative change. And I truly believe in that. And so I do echo Marty as well as Wendy in saying that Mayor Garcetti's racial equity plan, it is only a first step. I echo the general manager in saying that we are working towards long-lasting change, and that these will not be relegated to the sidelines, but that everybody from top on down, including our brothers and sisters in labor, will be included in this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Marty?
So that's really the conclusion of my report. I wanted you to know that this effort is moving, that we have a group put together of very capable individuals and individuals from companies. We will continue to grow this group and to get the core team that we need to move the effort forward. Soon we'll be working on outreach to employees and looking at how we best dialogue and how we are really inclusive in what we do. So there are some parallel efforts. There's the racial equity plan, which is something driven by the mayor's directive, which we are working forward on. And then there's also, to me, the broader effort of when we have that plan, how we create the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to deal with these issues of racial equity as well as gender equity that we've talked about earlier today, and looking at really how we serve the needs of all employees and create a level of fairness and opportunity for everyone that we have talked about but have not delivered on in the past. And so if you have any questions, hopefully we're able to answer them, but this is an ongoing and growing effort. But I wanted to let you know that it is absolutely moving forward.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Mr. Levine.
I have a brief comment. Marty, in the years that I've worked with you, in your various capacities, and especially including your capacity as GM, some people lead with some people are leaders through basically their head and some through their heart. You do both. You do them both superbly. And even before hearing from you today, I would have been quite confident that you'd put together a fabulous team and move forward in this extraordinarily important arena, not necessarily knowing every step that you're going to take, but knowing that you put your heart into it and your brain into it. I want to compliment you with regard to the team you've put together. I'm not surprised. Wendy, thank you so much for stepping up to the plate. And I know that through your leadership and with the collaboration of the board, this is going to move the department into a leadership role for the city, and one that can make a very significant example even beyond the boundaries of the city and for the water and power industries. So thank you for what you're doing, and I know it's going to lead to some marvelous results.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Reyes.
I just want to express my gratitude for a great first step that the department is taking. I know that, as Ty has said, this is going to be uncomfort. It's going to cause discomfort, right, in terms of our conversations. Anytime you face racism, it's going to be not a battle, but it's something that could be personal, and it could be upsetting. But I think when we look at the action plan that the department is drafting, I just want to put out there that we are not just going to be tinkering with systems that ended up to be imbalanced. We need to really dismantle those systems that are working exactly as they were designed, right? So I often tell people we are building a world that has never existed before. That to achieve the equity that we want, we must be open to change. And that change can be deeply radical and yet transformative. So in the action plan, I would like to see that we distinguish what equality means and what equity means, what diversity means and what inclusion means. And though the distinctions among those terms are very important as we drive to advance and to use the lenses that we want in terms of operationalizing the policies, processes, and procedures of the department. I'm very grateful again for everything, Marty, and for your message to our employees. Indeed, employees are our number one asset in the department. We have such a talented group of employees, and I would like to see an atmosphere where it's inclusive and equitable for them, and that we don't recognize race as a barrier for their advancement here in the department. And I also like your plan to sort of like sort them in several categories, like the hiring and job growth, probably the mentorship as well for our employees, and then the contracting, which is really important because we spend billions of dollars in contracts, and of course the communities that we serve. So very comprehensive outlook there. I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to the action plan. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all. Ty, Wendy, thank you. Marty, appreciate it.
Thank you.
We can move to item 11. Oh, no, I'm sorry, item 12. Item 11 we've acted on. And this was pulled by Commissioner Berard. Is the Commissioner present?
Yes, item number 12.
Yes.
I had a question.
Would you like a presentation, or do you just have a question?
I just have a question.
Okay, perfect.
We're offering an income-based discount program, which I'm glad to see that we're doing that. What I wanted to know is, are we considering the impact of COVID on our ratepayers, and particularly on their gross income? The chart on page 2 in our packet does not say anything about COVID, but I'm sure that the gross income is less now with the fact that people are not working. So I wanted to know about that.
Commissioner Barad, thank you for your question. This is Sharon Grove. I'm the Assistant General Manager of Customer Service. That is exactly the question that needs to be asked. Right now, we have a low-income discount program that the amount of the discount hasn't changed since 2008, and the criteria hasn't really been adjusted to manage this new pandemic. So we have two parallel efforts going on right now. One is being led by our board vice president, Susana Reyes, and that is to really work on the amount of the discount. And the second effort, I'm working with City Hall and CBOs, and I'm going to have 2 different workshops. One workshop dedicated to discussing the eligibility criteria for our low-income program, because we believe that this needs to be adjusted to accommodate people that are unemployed, for example. Right now, we certify customers for low income based on a W-2 or a tax return, which means they are employed and they're low income. But now we've got many, many people that are no income. And so we've got to be able to adjust the criteria and present it to the board to be able to appropriately address this and get those folks signed up for a low income discount.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Pickle, I assume that you have no further comment on this item other than the clarification that you made early on? I don't see him, and he's on mute, so I will just go with that assumption. Are there any additional questions on item 12? Is there a motion to approve?
Finally, off of mute. So move. I have no further questions or comments.
I think he said I have no further questions or comments.
I heard that. Terrific. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Susie, would you please call the roll?
Berard,
Yeah, aye.
Levine,
Aye.
McLean Hill,
Aye.
Neiman Brady,
Aye.
Reyes,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. The item is passed. Well, we can now move to item 13, and that was pulled by Commissioner Neiman Brady. You requested a presentation. Is there someone here to present on that item?
Rick,
And,
are you doing
to add more clarity, I am just interested in learning about the project that is being built and where it's located. So, less so about the required negative declaration, and more about the project itself.
Okay. Hi. I'm Chuck Holloway. I manage our environmental plan assessment group and responsible for various environmental permits and water and power system projects complying with CEQA, or California Environmental Quality Act. Do have a brief presentation. The first part of it's an overview, which I think will address your interest, and then there are a couple of slides just to wrap up why we're coming to you with the neg deck and the process we went through. So this shows a map of the proposed footprint of the project, and unfortunately I don't have the ability to move a cursor, but the blue line represents the right-of-way, our transmission lines, and the first part of the project is going to be there kind of in the center of the diagram or the footprint, and it allows for future expansion into the areas of green. It will require the purchase of some private property. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see an area where there's a residence, and then also in that same quadrant, there's a small green square, and adjacent to that, there would also be a small parcel of property that would need to be acquired. The next slide, please. This is an overview of the project and how it all ties into the system. The northernmost blue oval is the Barron Ridge Switching Station, which our Pine Tree Wind Farm project ties into, which would be on this slide about where the T is on project. And then also the Beacon Solar project, which would be about where the E is on overview. And from that point south, north of there, we have one 230 kV line that brings hydropower down from the Owens Valley. And then south of there, we have three 230 kV lines. And it goes down all the way through the Antelope Valley, and then down through the Angeles Forest and into that blue oval just north of Santa Clarita, which is the new Haskell station.
Well, midway between those, I'm sorry.
No, I am interrupting you. I was just inquiring. On the prior slide, it indicated the future BESS, Better Energy Storage System. Is that already committed to, or is that something that would be intended to be solicited for?
No, we can go back to the slide if you want, but we anticipate, and there's looks like there's 570 megawatts of potential solar and a lot energy that would tie into this. And in order to accommodate that, we have to have we would have to do some further system upgrades, like in the lower left-hand corner, that would provide some system protections and balancing and clean up the energy. Also associated with this proposed 570 megawatts of energy, we also anticipate some energy storage, which would be great because it's going to advance the technology and other people are going to test it, which will help make this feasible. I'm not sure if I totally answered what you, yeah, okay. So the first part is going to be up that center kind of black or purplish, I should use my glasses, with sections middle, and the red squares. The green is anticipated or to set us up for these future interconnections that would be needed to meet our RPS goals into the future. So back to the next slide, please, Steve. So yeah, as you can see, the Rosen Station would be well placed right there in the Antelope Valley for future solar that is in some kind of phase of planning or development to the west. And then there's stuff a little bit to the east, but there's a lot of development and military stuff over in that area. So the next slide, please. Well, and the other important thing is once this is in, it's going to help increase our immediate renewable energy goals by 2024, and then allows for future development as we get further into the future. Now, this may not mean a lot. It's a one-line diagram. It's really the stuff on the right just shows that we have our hydro plants to the north. They come on down through here. You got Barron Ridge and Rosamond in kind of pink there, and where the solar, wind, and it doesn't really show, but energy storage would tie into it. I think more important is the table, and it shows what we've got coming down there, Pine Tree, Beacon, and various other solar projects. And then once we can get the addition of the Rosamond facility, we have forecasted solar and energy storage of 570 megawatts, which would be very important to us. Next slide, please. Okay, so you can read this as well as I can, but within the switching station, we are allowing for potential battery energy storage, and then also this flexible alternative current transmission systems devices, as I already said, that would address future operational constraints imposed by increasing our renewable energy portfolio. And then we talk about some of the alternatives that really wouldn't meet any of our objectives that we did look at in the CEQA process. Next slide, please. And then now, if you'd like, I only got 2-3 more slides regarding well, we had determined as we went through the initial study that the mitigated negative declaration would be the appropriate document to comply with CEQA, and we distributed that for review, for 30-day public review earlier this year. We also noticed this in the Los Angeles Times in April, and notices were also mailed to appropriate agencies, nearby residents and businesses. And then we also reached out to the California Native American tribes for consultation. And so we did read some comment letters during this, but I think the next slide summarizes it a little better, please, Steve. Oh, this jumps into the tribal consultation. We contacted the Native American Heritage Commission and got a list of interested tribes or potentially interested tribes. it really matched up with our mailing list for the tribes in this area. We added the San Manuel tribe of Mission, or Band of Mission Indians, and the Tule River Indian tribe to the list. And after consulting with these tribes, we added a couple of mitigation measures that you can see there, that we would notify them if we discovered sensitive cultural resources, and also made a good faith effort to provide all our cultural documents to the tribes, interested tribes. Also, one thing to note on here, while we were consulting with the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, they had requested we do some additional test pits, and we did, and found that we didn't find anything. And they were really appreciative. We take the extra effort, and they were all involved with all of that. Next slide, please. So these were, it's a summary of some of the comments we received, and basically potential impacts or the hazardous substances and stuff. And we did it and concluded that further evaluation wasn't warranted. We didn't find anything. And land use and property values came up as an issue. We're going to purchase 2 of the parcels, and it was determined that there was going to be no impacts to land use or land values in the area as a result of this. Next slide, please. I think we're almost done. Sorry, I know you've had a lot of presentations today. So we looked at both construction and operational activities, and these is a list of the potentially significant impacts, but with mitigation, they were all found to be less than significant. And it was biocultural resource, hazardous materials, water quality, transportation, and then also during operational activities, hazards and wildfire were brought up, but were less than significant with the incorporation of mitigation. Next slide, please. I think that's it. So if you have any specific questions.
Are there any questions?
No, that was sufficient. Thank you. I appreciate you walking through that.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Neiman-Brady.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion for item 13?
So moved.
Was that Commissioner Berard who moved? Or was it Neiman-Brady? Who made the motion?
I think both of us did, but hey, go with Nikki.
Okay, great. So why don't we do this? Since she pulled the item, it will be Commissioner Neiman-Brady who's moved the item. Let's have a second by Commissioner Berard. And would you please call the roll, Susie?
Sure. Berard?
Aye.
Levine?
Aye.
McLean Hill?
Aye.
Neiman-Brady?
Aye.
Reyes?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. The item has passed. Now we'll have here item 14, which is pulled by Commissioner Berard. Did you want a presentation, or did you have a question?
I have a question.
Okay, terrific. Is there somebody who's going to take the question, Marty?
I can take the question, Commissioner.
Okay, terrific, Rich. So I'm sorry, Commissioner Berard, please proceed.
Okay. We're talking about Studio City and the Coldwater Canyon area. And I'm sure, as Marty remembers, a couple years ago, Coldwater Canyon was not in use for quite some time because there was a big trunk line going in there, which I believe was south of Ventura Boulevard. And as I read this report, this is north of Ventura Boulevard. So I'm just wondering how much of Coldwater Canyon is going to be impassable and for the the residents, because I know the minute it starts, I'm going to get hundreds of phone calls.
So the traffic will remain open both ways during construction, and there's just small sections at a time that will be impacted. We're doing a variety of construction. It won't be all on the surface.
Okay, and this is not anywhere near our work on Witsit, right? Witsit in Magnolia?
No.
This is further.
It's up the canyon, so up from Ventura, past Harvard Westlake, and Harvard Westlake will be probably halfway, but there are two small sections. It doesn't go all the way that far.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much, Rich.
So, Rich,
Okay.
this is further south than the previous work. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Commissioner, we'll make sure we give you get you a schedule so that you'll have answers if people ask you what's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah, this is where Harry and Megan live, so I'm sure they'll be thrilled with this.
It sounds like she may also need a handoff to one of those customer service reps, or maybe Rich, to answer some of the hundreds of questions that she's going to get in calls.
We'll try not to be a royal pain, okay?
Oh, boy.
All right. Are there any additional questions with respect to item 14?
I move that we adopt that.
Is there a second?
Second, Reyes.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Berard, seconded by Commissioner Reyes. Would you please call the roll?
Levine,
Aye.
McLean Hill,
Aye.
Neiman Brady,
Aye.
Berard,
Aye.
Reyes,
Aye.
5 ayes.
And with that, the item 14 passes, and I think that concludes our regular session.
We have two more.
We still have,
Oh, I'm sorry.
16,
We have
17.
16, 17. It's just circled. All right, 16.
Item 16 is the report of
The
grievances. Yes, number M-030-18, filed by John M. Crook. Mr. Crook is not available and is not present.
Okay, well, are there any questions regarding the grievance or any presentation from
We have staff here
Commissioner
if you'd like
Reyes?
to,
Or
if you'd like to
staff?
hear anything, yes.
There's no question.
Any questions? All right, then is there a motion to approve item 16?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Reyes.
Susie, would you please call the roll?
Berard,
Aye.
Levine, Commissioner Levine.
Aye. Let's see. Hear me?
Yes,
We can, thank you.
McLean Hill,
Aye.
Neiman Brady,
Aye.
Reyes,
Aye.
5 ayes.
With that, the matter passes, and we'll move to item number 17, also an appeal of a grievance to the board. And we have a speaker.
Yes, Mr. Holguin. Hector Holguin is present. Please stand up to the podium. You have 5 minutes.
You can take your mask off.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity, members. I have copies of a recently received letter in regards to my grievance. I'd like to share with the board or the commissioners. Well, after listening to much bigger and more critical issues, I feel that big. So the reason for my being here is I work for Central Repair and Fabrication down out of Main Street. I am a supervisor for 4 years now, and I do not have a bid. As you know, I fall under MOU regulations, which supervisors do not hold bids. I am sent to different locations to manage different units or different crews through my section. If I am sent outside my headquarters, which is Main Street, anything after 12 miles or further out than 12 miles, I am entitled to a zone pay. And this zone pay is just for shops. Whether it's a permanent reporting location, which at this time is what I'm trying to prove, that whether it's temporary or permanent, I do not have a bid. I don't fall under those restrictions. Supervisors get sent everywhere. I've been in the Owens Valley, Cal State, Scattergood, Harbor, everywhere. I overhaul generators as a machinist supervisor. Now, about 4 years ago, my supervisor decides that, this is something that him and I had some issues in, and he's retired now, but he took my zone pay away. And he stated that I was at a permanent reporting location, which this location is permanent for those that have bids under the bid system through the MOU. If you have a bid, yes, you don't get zone pay if you bid for that location. As a supervisor, I don't fall under those guidelines. I have also, I was getting paid zone pay for quite some time until he decided to take it away. I let him know that I am a supervisor and I do not have a bid and I fall under the MOU guidelines for supervisors reporting to outside my mileage range. Anyways, that's why I'm here. I would like to have my zone pay returned to me. As a supervisor, I go to Cal State. I get paid zone pay, except when I report to Satico Yard, which is where I was sent to operate out of that facility, being that there was a crew there that reports to that facility on a daily basis. So right now, I am reporting to that facility, and I have been, but without zone pay for 3 years now. For about 3 years. When it was taken away from me. Prior to that, for 4 years prior to that, supervisors got zone pay. So under Article 23, that's another one of those. I'm going to read real quick a paragraph. It says, all present written rules, including, this is under Article 23, that the working rules and all present established practices in management and employees' rights, privileges, and benefits shall remain in full force and effect unless specifically altered by the provisions of this MOU, meaning past practices. For years, they've been paying zone pay at that location to supervisors. I received it. I was one of those. One of the other supervisors also got it for 4 years prior to this particular manager taking it away. This is why I'm here, just to let the board know that I am entitled to zone pay under the MOU. I work for shops, and I am an employee of the department coming out at Central Repair and Fabrications, Main Street. So my agreement was denied, and there is abundance of evidence and literature and legal documentation that supports that I am entitled to a zone pay, zone 1, if I work outside of Main Street for more than 12 miles. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick observation. You have sat through the meeting, through a very long meeting where we have tackled items big and small. No employee that appears before this board should ever regard himself or herself as small. So thank you for being here and appreciate your comments.
Thank you for allowing me, and it's amazing. I'd like to be part of this decision-making crew.
Thank you. The item is up for discussion.
It is up for discussion if anybody would like. The department can also do a presentation. It was heard by Personnel Committee, so unless there are any questions, it would be up for recommendation.
All right. Are there questions? And is there someone that would like to, would other commissioners like the benefit of the department presentation? I don't see a request for that. Sir, I do want you to know that the same report and recommendation that you provided us a copy of today was provided to all commissioners, so they've had the opportunity to review it. This is not new information for them. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on item 17? You may.
So moved.
It's been moved. Was that by Commissioner Berard?
By Berard.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Berard. Is there a second?
Reyes, second.
Reyes beat you to the punch, Commissioner Levine. So we have it's been moved and seconded. Would you please call the roll?
Berard.
Aye.
Levine.
Aye.
McLean Hill.
Aye.
Neiman Brady.
Aye.
Reyes.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. Then I don't think I voted. McLean Hill, did I vote?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay. Then the report and recommendation of the Personnel Relations Committee in the matter of this appeal of grievance has been accepted. And with that, we now have concluded our regular session.
Commissioner, I think we still have filed items, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Did
Yes.
I skip those?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
9A, the power system and water system reports, and also the RPS.
All right, let's go back to 9A. Oh, that's right, we skipped that to move B up. So back to 9A.
So those reports are in your packet, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have none at this time. Thank you.
Are there any questions with respect to 9A? Monthly reports. All right, hearing none.
Filed items.
Did we approve the minutes?
We did.
Missed that, okay. We're going to go straight into closed session?
All right, then we can now move into closed session, is that correct?
Yes.
I've
at
been
this
trying
point,
to
we
get
will
there.
recess into closed session, and in accordance with California Government Code Section 54957.1, we will report any reportable actions taken therein. And I would say if we could have 10 minutes to set up, you have the alternate number to call in for a closed session. So we will reconvene in closed session at 1:40.
Thank you.
We are in recess.
Oh my God.